All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Anahat Lesson 1, Video 2. I'm going to open to Q&A right now. I want to comment on what's in the chat pod. So if you have any questions, I'll maybe reserve the right to say we're going to get to it. But if you have any questions now, just go ahead and use the chat pod for sure. And I'm going to comment on what's in there. We're going to finish the workbook, and then we're going to actually do some meditation. And I'll talk to you while sitting on the cushion. It probably won't be as awe-inspiring as it, for me anyway. Like when I do the whole system, it's going to be a very different experience. This will be just descending. So it'll be a bit more down to earth than what heart-centered and ascending and sexual energy and all that stuff is. We'll see how that goes on video. All right, so thank you for the feedback that everything is all good. Somebody said when I talked about your breathing or your being breathed, so the question here is, it says, the body and skeleton is breathing me, question mark. So you got a body, then you have a skeleton, which is obviously part of the body. So we'll just say body. It's not like your skeleton and your body. Okay, so body and skeleton breathing you. Well, you have a body. And then we could say, okay, but then you have like this emotional level called your heart. Then you have this mental level, we'll just call the mind, conscious mind. And then you have you, consciousness. But then there's also the big consciousness, or we can call that God. So who are you? When we say you're breathing or the body, you're being breathed, more important is to ask who's the you. Not really who's breathing who, but are you the body? And you're being breathed, because that's not an accurate assessment of who you really are. And spirit is actually beyond breath. Not that it's not intimately aware of breathing, but spirit doesn't need to breathe. I would just encourage everybody who's here now to keep asking the question, who am I? When I went to the bathroom, where good insight and revelations always come, there's a book I would recommend that came to me. It's called Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind by Shunro Suzuki. It'll come up, you don't have to spell that for you. Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, and then be sure the author is Shunro Suzuki. Beautiful Zen monk, no longer with us. Major influence of bringing Zen from Asia over to America. And the Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind idea, so a lot of descending is about Zen mind, about beginner's mind. But basically, it's influenced by Zen practice. I think that was the thought. Meditation one is very much Zen practice. So if you study Zazen, that's again what you would call Zen meditation Zazen, which really just means sitting Zen. And nobody's going to define Zen for you if they know anything about it. So it's a study that really deals with beginner's mind. And what I'll say in moving into descending is the essence of Zen practice. You got to be so careful with what you say about Zen, because it's so easy to say, no, that's only one way to see it. It's not the only way to see it. Zen helps to open your mind that there's many different ways to see it. So I'm very conscious of my words, obviously. I'm going to say the essence of Soto Zen, if I can qualify enough to say it, is called Shikantaza. Like the pinnacle of all that meditation is whatever I talked about. Shikantaza is just sitting. You're just here now. And again, there's really no mind in that, at least not the way we have been defining mind. When you're doing Shikantaza, just sitting, that's the Soto school of Zen. If you're going to study some of Zen, you want to study more Soto. And the way I'm going to define that for simplicity, Soto is basically sitting and watching your breath, and often counting your breath, which we'll talk about today. Rinzai Zen, again, one interpretation of what that is using what's called koans. Koan practice is like, what is the first one you usually hear is, what is the sound of one hand clapping? That doesn't have an answer for your conscious mind to easily grasp. So you sit there meditating on, what is the sound of one hand clapping? Or they'll say, what was your original face before you were born? Questions that don't have easy answers, but you have to keep meditating the question, and you come back to your Zen master and he says, okay, what is your practice? You say, it's koan practice. And what is your koan? What is the sound of one hand clapping? He says, okay, what is the sound of one hand clapping? And whatever you say, you're probably wrong. Because he goes, okay, go back and meditate more. You don't have it yet. That's not what we're doing here. I've done Rinzai Koan Zen, and it's super fun, and it just takes you through a whole process, but I'm not qualified to take you through koans at all. So we'll be practicing more in the most literal translation of the Soto Zen, or not translation, but Soto is basically you're just going to sit and breathe and watch your breath, count your breath. Obviously, there's other practice, but that's really what you do. And then in Rinzai, you're working through koan. So doing more Soto Zen. And because of that, I would recommend the book Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, because you're beginners with this system. It'll help you to learn about beginner's mind. And it gives you it starts you off in a way which won't, in Zen we call it making your practice impure. And if you're just sitting, your practice is pure. But anything else you add could potentially become another ego trip. So highly recommended when you're getting started. And I'll recommend most likely other resources. Well, I'm sure I'll recommend other resources today. And that's why a week isn't always enough to start to understand the energetics of any one meditation. Just to clarify, best time of day to meditate, first in morning and at night before bed. Awesome. We're definitely going to cover that. Hold the thought. If I don't get it, yell at me later. We're going to go through the whole workbook about how to sit, which will definitely include when to practice. But I do recommend morning and evening. It's a simple answer for sure, but you can do more, but minimum morning, evening. Okay, let's go to lesson 1 again, our PDF. All right, I read the first paragraph to you before the break. Definitely read this next paragraph on your own. Just skimming it over. That's fine, but please definitely read that on your own. Descending, this part, this is definitely worth reading and just spending time on. So this is the page that really is the meditation. Below the navel. Now, which triangle are we focusing on? Like I said before, the energy in this stage of things, and it's important, just trust me on it, is staying in the confines of your body. So this 60-degree equilateral triangle, each angle is 60 there, adding up to 180, and the total circle is 360 degrees. But you don't have to know these geometries at all. But kind of helpful to realize this 60-degree triangle, equilateral triangle, is not what you're really focusing on now. It just represents the flow of the energy. If you could feel more of that flow, which you can, you will, is from the shoulders down. But the more we talk, the more I'm going to be able to explain how big. Somebody raised their hand. I'm going to keep moving along. But if there's technical issues, please raise your hands. If not, I will come back to the chat pod very soon. When you're descending, it's much more than just below your navel, because we're talking about being aware of all that is, not letting anything out of your awareness. So the descending triangle is a much bigger reality than you might realize, but you need something to start with. So largely imagine shoulders down to below the navel. Don't go to the very base of the spine at the very bottom, because again, that's where you're going to find sexual energy. So keep it just below your navel. And I'll show you when I'm sitting right exactly where my hands go, but essentially this picture is doing it. More or less, you'll see when I sit. So it's the descending triangle here on the right. Okay, which these are, by the way, golden triangles based on the golden ratio or the divine proportion. And that is more where the energy flows. Meditation number 1, descending. The top line of the descending triangle, which I want you to see as the shoulders for now. And I want you to ask, well, where is it really? You could ask me, but meditate, find it in yourself, right? Don't ask me where your kidneys are. Go and research on your own. Your kidneys, by the way, are at the bottom of the ascending triangle. When this first came to me, I realized it was moving to the hara. Energy was moving around the level of the kidneys. In Chinese medicine, the kidneys are the root of yin and yang in the whole body. They're very valuable, obviously, for your health. Then there was the shoulders at the level of the collarbones, and then there was pretty much the crown of the head or the third eye region. And those are 4 major levels. We talked about 3 levels, but 4 levels would be the hara, but then the base of the ascending, and then the heart obviously is important in the system on a hat. So 5 levels, but you can divide it up into any number you want. But these are 5 levels. So, so hara, heart, head, but also now you can start looking at shoulders. And you could say the waist. The navel, top of the waist would be the top of this ascending triangle over here. But this ascending triangle is more at the level of the kidneys, which is very much where the energy goes. which you'll see, but it goes everywhere. But one of the major meditations will move it to the base of the kidneys, which is nourishing the kidneys with blood and energy. It's amazing. I didn't invent this, so I can say that. Meditation number 1, descending. The top line, I'll put the cursor there, the top line of the descending triangle begins at the shoulders and is physically represented by the clavicles. The 2 angled lines, going down, descending, from the acromial extremity of the clavicles, the very edge of that bone that's making your shoulder, and descends to the tailbone. The small circle at the base of this triangle here represents the hara, located about 2 inches below the navel. But again, it's like an area, if you want to feel like a bat, how big is it? Grapefruit, probably. It depends. Like as you're cultivating more energy into it, it kind of gets bigger. But then there's just stages of this. So I would say probably in the earlier days, it felt like I was cultivating a ball of energy there. Eventually that, things start unfolding big time. But that's good to focus on now. A ball of energy below your navel. Energy moves from the top of this triangle to the bottom and is cultivated at its base. It's actually really good that you're listening to what I said in 2005, because I can't explain what's happening now. Maybe, after a few months you'll get, and then by then it'll evolve further. So it's good you're understanding where it is at now. Just know when I meditate, it's actually much different now. It's all the same, but it just gets better. What can I say? Meditate is a ball of energy below your navel. Fruition. All right, so just, this is, following the training manual. I think we've talked about it, but what is it like when the whole system unfolds itself? I'm going to take a couple minutes, maybe better to do on the cushion. But let's take a moment now since we're on the screen on this page. So what is it doing when the whole thing blossoms the way it can? Because meditation 1 is, you're going to get bored with it if you only did that, right? It wouldn't be enough. Like Zen practice, to me, is just not enough, even though it's wonderful. So descending, well, I honestly don't know how to start, although I can start to spirit and do that, because there's just so much to mention. Let's just go to something higher than one step at a time. The first word that comes up is the glory of God. It's bliss, it's joy, it's peace, it's love, it's ecstasy, it's oneness, it's wisdom, it's flow, it's ease, it's effortless, blood, energy, life, consciousness flows through the whole being. You're free. You're like totally free in fruition. There's no blockage, there's no suffering, there's no pain. You're aware of divine perfection. You're aware of spirit, light. You're aware of all the other planes right here now. There's multiple dimensions in the same space. I mean, that's good. So I can't tell you what fruition is fully like. The wings, if you put your attention on those, there's this gorgeous branching out of energy flowing back in. There's energy pouring up and down the spine. It's moving in these sacred geometrical glyphs. It's like that's what a picture in the screen, because that's a picture of my body in the screen. I'm trying to describe to you what the energy is like when it fully blossoms. Those circles, one of you talked about. Everything's on a pivot of a circle. Like, just feel it, your body. Like, you're not as rigid as you think. In sacred geometry, straight lines are masculine. Round, curved lines are feminine. Wear both. Get used to it, everybody. It does. We'll talk about the sexual implications of that later, to discrete degrees, but it's both. So when you're in touch with the star, with the circles are spheres. I'm not saying they're only feminine, but realize like ascending could be seen as masculine, descending could be seen as feminine, but each contain the other. When you're ascending, it's also a very masculine energetic. It's a powerful, concentrated focus. So it's actually, descending is probably a bit more masculine actually when you're starting with this meditation. But part of fruition, and you can research it if you want, it's more of a fruition topic, is divine androgyny, I mentioned to you last time. It's a word from the alchemical tradition talking about this beautiful balance of both. So part of fruition is God is mother and father, and child of God is son, daughter. sorry everybody, but if you believe God is mother and father and you're a child of God, you are also that. And unfoldingness is going to force you to unfold what that means. And that, again, that's going to be really challenging as that's happening. Fruition, by the way, when the heart's fully open and clear, no anger, no fear, no sadness, no grief, no guilt, clear of all that. Fruition, you don't have any of that stuff anymore. Every negative belief that most human beings hold, stupid, dumb, worthless, bad, useless, no purpose, nothing, shouldn't be, all these horrible things everybody says about themselves. Fruition, none of that is there, right? Not a single mental, emotional block. And you won't feel physical blocks when this is that open. So fruition, the heart is filled with love, devotional love when it goes up to the divine. And, well, that's pretty good. I could go on and on. I just want you to know when we spend time only descending, it's just the tip of the iceberg. So fruition is when every energetic has been consciously blossomed. Now you're going to learn to descend it, but you'll be working with the descending triangle for the rest of your existence now. You'll be working with opening the heart next week for the rest of your existence. You'll be working on ascending and blissing out in God for the rest of your existence. And then we'll start integrating all these energies, moving it through. But those are only 3 of all these different levels that we'll get into. Like I said, there's nothing like this that I know of on the planet. And that's why I feel obligated to teach it. Because if not, I'd say just go do Buddhism, go do yoga. They're great paths. Be a Christian. They're good. They're great paths. But I don't know of any meditation system that's this comprehensive. So key components. And then I saw a hand or something. We'll go back to the chat pod soon. Eyes and chin. Very simple. And again, I can show you while we're sitting. And you'll see throughout the weeks how it goes. When the chin is down just a little. Sorry, I saw another thing. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, hold your questions till I ask, because sometimes I think when I, but let's look quickly since that happened. Oh, somebody said, every time you move your hands, the light aura moves around you. It's beautiful. I'm sure there's camera stuff, just, physical lighting, nothing too special there, but I'm very conscious of you see all the people using Zoom now. I very intentionally have this background where there's nothing there because I don't want you distracted seeing what books are on my shelf or, what picture or whatever. So, but I've watched a lot of my videos in this lighting and I'm aware of that too. I don't know if you're seeing my aura or just physical lighting phenomena or both, but thank you. I'm conscious of that. But watch for it. I'll be curious. I don't know, little science experiment. There's times where I've watched my videos and I'm going into samadhi level meditation, putting all my attention into source. And I'm saying, okay, everything's turning into light right now. And I'm seeing that on the camera as well. I'd be very curious to know if we ever pick that up for real. Okay, anyway. Rhonda said, sorry, try not to use names. Does one need to ground or do a protection? That's a good question. Does one need to ground or do a protection prior to this meditation? The whole meditation itself is grounding, right? Putting all your energy into your body. So I would say no. If there's something else you do, we'll talk about before you sit, things to do to make your sitting better. But basically, no, you don't have to do any grounding because this does that. But I do recommend doing yoga before you meditate for sure. Morning, I don't always, but my morning practice is nowhere near as glorious. I do morning practice because it's the best way to start your day. Yet, so if you can do yoga in the morning first and then sit, great. Yet I do a very gentle practice in the evening of yoga that leads into my physical sitting. I don't believe in doing protection at all. But you're getting to know me. I don't think I'm filled with a whole lot of darkness. I just don't deal with that. Like I felt frustration the other day for about 3 minutes and it was, fine. It was beneficial to be like, look, this is frustrating, tell the person, and then let it go, move on, forgive. It's okay to have emotions, by the way. I don't remember when I felt that kind of feeling. It was frustration. It wasn't anger or rage or anything. It was a little bit of frustration. And I haven't felt that in years. Literally, and you guys see me all the time on camera. So I'm not here, I'm just using myself as an example. The one who teaches this. When your heart is open, you are clear. You're not holding anything dark. And law of attraction says you'll never attract anything dark. Just like hypnosis, you don't have to be scared of going into the state where you need to protect yourself. If you feel you need to, you probably should, but you need to find out why you possibly attracting something negative into your space in the first place. Here's some tips for that. I burn a lot of sage. not to get rid of horribly negative energy, but it makes the space that much more pure. So I burn sage a lot. If you don't know, they're smudge sticks. You guys can research that on your own, but I do that frequently. And other type of things, copal, sweetgrass, cedar, incense of all sorts. I like Zen flavored incense and like kind of woodsy stuff because I live up here in the mountains in the woods, juniper, cedar, pine. So burning incense is beautiful, lighting candles is beautiful, and meditating in this pure way because there's no negative malevolent intention here in any way, shape, or form. If you're just doing this practice purely, like Zen practice, which is what descending largely is, there's no, like Zen practitioners don't protect their space. So you just start sitting. You just sit down, you bow. You want to talk about bowing, it's up to you if you want to do that. You're definitely not bowing to me. There's none of that kind of silliness going on. But if you want to bow before you start your practice, that's beautiful. You're consecrating the space. You're honoring this is the, like who do you bow to in Zen? In Zen, there's no God. Not saying there isn't God, it's just Zen is a non-theistic practice, just like car mechanics. Car mechanics doesn't deny God, it's just non-theistic. It's not focused on the God topic. Just like most of what's going on, and that's okay, right? So Zen practice is non-theistic. So who are you bowing to then? You're just honoring the practice, sacred space. So yeah, a lot of my evening practice, I light candles, I burn incense, I do sage first to clear the space, and then, or similar substances. Again, like copal is great for clearing the space, cedar is nice. So you burn those, and then light some incense if you want. None of this is required, of course. And then I bow in, and I just engage my practice right away. I start sitting right away. If you think you need to protect yourself, you're like always setting the idea that there's some evil, something that's going to get you. But if you're encountering that, it means you've got some funky juju going on there. Like if somebody's literally attracting negative stuff to them when they're meditating, you really need to look at why. And I'd encourage you to reach out to me if that's happening, because as a hypnotherapist, with everything we bring in interpersonal hypnotherapy, we can clear those blocks. And meditation eventually will, but you shouldn't have to go long term with dealing with negative entities or something. And some of you might find that's already in your system. Again, feel free to reach out to me if that's happening. Okay, thank you. Hold your questions, because obviously that can break up the flow. And I'll definitely open the Q&A soon. Eyes and chin. When you're sitting in descending meditation, the chin is slightly tucked in. Not too much, closing your throat. There are certain locks we'll learn about later. We never really lock the throat in this kind of meditation. Energy goes up and down the throat smoothly, but tuck your chin in just a little, and it focuses the energy down. When we're ascending, the eyes might actually, you see, like when you're watching me, my eyes are frequently rolling up, more than I think most people when I watch Zoom. When you're ascending, the eyes are tapping into higher consciousness, and you can go there. So descending down, ascending up, but the chin shouldn't go up, it's just level. When you're ascending, we're heart level. Descending down, heart and ascending. But even heart is lower, so the eyes are down a bit. But when you ascend, chin goes up, eyes go up, but again, not all the way back. So that's eyes and chin, basically up and down is what it comes down to. Eyes down or eyes up, chin down or chin just up a little. Arms and hands, we'll talk about that when I'm on the cushion. When you're descending, hands in Maha Mudra work quite well, or just in your lap. One hand over the other. I'll mention it now in case I forget, but we'll talk about it on the cushion. Left hand, the left side of the body is often considered feminine or yin. The right side of the body is often considered yang or masculine. Again, each contains the other, so don't get too rigid about that idea. But feminine, masculine. Left, yin, is embracing yang. So I encourage you to put your left hand on top of your right. There's no should, there's no absolute right or wrong, because some people say, oh, when you meditate, you're supposed to put your, there's none of that kind of energy with this. It's just understanding how energy moves. When yin embraces yang, it's like the soft is embracing the hard. The gentle is embracing the intense. Because there is yang energy. There's masculine, powerful, intense energy. Both are necessary, both are beautiful, both are important. And that's, if everybody knew that, think about what the world would be like. Like women's rights, it wouldn't even be an issue if everybody meditated like this. So you're welcome, ladies. left on top of right. But if you want to see what right on top of left feels like, go right ahead, just like you could have your left leg in front or your right leg in front when you're sitting in lotus. There's no right or wrong. I've heard when I first got into it, it's like, oh, only Buddhists sit with their right leg on top or whatever. I'm like, I said that to my teacher. And it kind of was like, what silliness is that? So they're just different energies. And in some ways, it's really just intention or even placebo, to say, because I said this is left, but now that you can think that way, you're like, wow, this is like a soft gesture. But when you put your fingers more like, we'll show you in Mahamudra, you're getting that intense concentrated power, which is actually very masculine. All right, so, and then you can have your hands on your knees, and we'll talk about palms up or palms down. Palms up, ascending usually, palms down, descending. There are mudras that can work with this system. Mudras are hand symbols. This is called Gyan Mudra. And I can show you while I'm sitting. When you start, when you're cultivating energy, the Mahamudra, the hand gesture is probably the best, but it's hard to do long term for a long period of time. And then there's different mudras once you've cultivated the energy to start to move it. We'll talk about that as we go. The tongue. What I'll say briefly, and we'll learn more about this later, there's something called the microcosmic orbit. It's an energy meridian in Chinese medicine that runs up the back, over the top, and when you pull it up, it actually can loop in your brain, which we'll get into with meditations 4 and 5. It's super cool stuff when you're filling your brain with life force energy. When you see an MRI, I'm not that kind of scientist at all, but when you see that, you're actually seeing where blood is moving to different regions of the brain. The potential of what we're doing here is really awe-inspiring, is why I hesitated. We're literally pulling all this energy we're talking about up and filling the entire brain. That's got to be good. I think it is. From my experience, I know it is. So it's exciting. Anyway, the energy goes up, down to the, up over the top, down to the third eye, and actually down right to the upper lip region. And then there's another energy meridian that technically goes up the front, up to the right at the bottom, your chin, your lower gums is where the acupoint is, either on the gums, I believe, or just on the outside. But anyway, the tongue connects that is the whole important point of this, and you will feel the difference. So what do you do with your tongue? I'm going to recommend always, you can always try other things because there's no hard and fast rule. It's just explaining to you how energy moves and the other wisdom in this tradition. But nobody's saying you must do it a specific way. As a beginner, it's good to just follow the advice given. But eventually you might try modifying, but there's not too many options with your tongue. The best option is you put the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth. And then what does that mean to know where? Put your tongue way back, and you'll feel your soft upper palate, way back up there. Then slide forward, and you'll feel the hard upper palate. Go forward again, and you feel the bony ridge above your teeth. Rest your tongue kind of up in there. What happens is it'll help you from salivating too much while you're sitting, so you're not swallowing as much, and that's not as much of a distraction. But most importantly, it links, and it's called the Ren meridian that goes up the front, and the Du meridian goes up the back and over the head, and they meet here. The tongue on the top of the mouth connects the microcosmic orbit of those energies. We'll work with the microcosmic orbit. Eventually it's play for sure. It's very playful actually. Well, you can feel when the energy is moving up the spine. It's awesome. Sorry, I'm just getting all absorbed inside. There's something inside of you, and I'm just going to go into it for a moment. Most people, and I'm going to assume most people here, I'm going to talk to you like you're beginners, have not experienced Kundalini awakening. Your chakras, most people's chakras, are blocked. There's energy blocks, there's emotional blocks, there's memories that are unresolved. There's a lot of unforgiveness in there. The Kundalini, this powerful energy, just lies dormant in the spine, at the base of the spine, and it's not awakened. I think, we'll talk about it more later. I think we touched on the intro. When the chakras are clear enough, and we talked about in the intro a little, when the chakras are clear enough and we open enough of the system, without me intentionally awakening your Kundalini on my own, because that can be irresponsible, it can happen premature. But there's times when that's happened. I've told you I've done that for people, but it happened when it was totally harmonious. Mostly it's best to clear your chakras, get all the energy cleared out, moving all your emotion blocks. We'll talk about emotional blocks next week. Once the system gets really clear and the Kundalini awakens, it'll start moving up your spine in the core central channel. I call it core central channel in Anahat, but in Sanskrit it's called the Sushumna. And there's two snake-like channels, Ida and Pingala nadis. They're masculine and feminine, but it's all one energy, just moving up your spine like this. Comes to your third eye, it's a nice little triangle. This whole area lights up. Your Kundalini, when it's awakened and your system is clear, moves up your spine as this delicious bliss comes up here. Eventually it hits what the yogis call a secret gland and drips down what's called amrita, the nectar of devotion. You'll feel in the back of your throat this delicious sweetness pouring down through your whole body. And so when I just closed my eyes to say whatever I was going to say, it's like you get caught up in the Kundalini. It's like, oh. And that's why I'm like, descending isn't terribly exciting. When Kundalini, I'll come back to you guys. When Kundalini awakens and the channels, so Ida Pingala Nadi, we'll talk more about later, central channel Sushumna, and the third eye and the halo and the wings, that's real. The caduceus, the Greek healing staff that you see in the medical symbol, that's what it's representing. Health. What is the Greek medical symbol, the caduceus, the Greek healing staff of Hermes, I think it was? That's representing the core central channel, the two snakes coming to the third eye, forming a halo, branching out as wings. That is your aura when you're healthy. I just don't think most doctors know that. So when I closed my eyes, I kind of got caught up and forgot what I was going to say. But that's, again, I want to share that because you can't tell. Like I said, if I do yoga, you're like, hey, look, or he's doing Tai Chi. Oh, it's so beautiful. You can't see what's happening inside an advanced meditator. So I never talk about me to be egoic or to, tell you how amazing I am, like some people around the country. Sorry. I mean, what are you, a president to be able to talk about yourself so much? So when, that's a different vibration. So I'm only talking about what's happening inside of me because I can show you. So fruition, I can only talk to you about what it's like inside. Okay, so the tongue. You'll feel that connection, and when you put the tip of your tongue on the roof of the mouth, it helps to engage it when it goes through the microcosmic orbit, motion up the back, down the front, but also as it comes up the core central channel. So all this energy is real. In its purest form, it's pure bliss. And if you don't have bliss just coursing up and down your spine all the time, something's wrong. What's wrong? A whole bunch of emotional blocks, honestly. And we'll talk about how to clear those next time. So tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. You might not feel the subtleties of it yet, and eventually it won't be subtle. It's when Kundalini awakens, it's not subtle. And if you start noticing like intense heat in your spine type of stuff, feel free to reach out to me because it's real. All right, practice times. Somebody asked about that. For beginners, which I'm talking to as if you are, 5 minutes morning, 5 minutes evening. I apologize. We're going to end up doing 4 total hours. If you need to watch this recording later, I totally understand. I'll try not to make it 4 total hours, but I see where we're going with this. Okay, so practice, but again, if you have to log off, I'll post the recording as soon as I can. Practice times, morning and evening, and then when you start in the morning, whatever time works for you. I do recommend getting into good circadian rhythms, so ideally, I pretty much wake up every morning naturally. I never thank God. This is part of life mastery work we'll get into later. I never have to use the alarm, not just because I have good healthy biorhythms, but because I don't have to work that much. And so we'll talk about what is true freedom in this whole path. And this idea of life mastery, where you create a beautiful life for yourself, for me, that was, I don't want to have to wake up to an alarm clock. So I naturally wake up around 6, lie in bed for a while. There's actually studies that prove lying in bed and not jumping out of bed right away, it's actually healthier for you. I slowly come back to consciousness. I'll usually right away like, oh, I'm awake. And then usually it's like, okay, God's name. Then I'll go into mantra. I'll talk to you about that later, like right away, go right to God right away. But anyway, there's like a lot of subtleties from every breath and every thought. You become more conscious when you meditate. If you get up with an alarm, it's fine. My point is, here's how I get up. I just lie in bed all delicious, enjoying what it's like to stay in bed. And then when my body truly feels ready, which again, a little bit of a process, because again, I'm doing a lot of inner work even as I'm lying down. But then brush your teeth, wash your face. I wake up, do that thing, go to the bathroom. Don't look at your phone. Don't watch the news. I know a lot of you have families and kids, and you're just going to have to adapt. I don't know what to tell you about that, except you do what you have to do in the morning, and then the first thing, as soon as you possibly can, is get on the cushion. If you can't and something happens, all right, just as soon as you can, get on the cushion. And if you can't do morning meditation, okay. But what I'm going to ask, or I'm going to encourage, I'm not asking for anything, what I'm going to encourage is 5 minutes morning, 5 minutes evening at minimum. So like first thing, as quick as you can, aside from waking up in a healthy way, setting intentions while you're barely awake is a nice practice of how you want your day to go. Like literally, that stuff works in creating manifesting, especially the day before. By the way, the night before, you can be creating your whole next day in such a beautiful way. Not necessarily exact specifics, but intentions that keep becoming part of your future. So sit 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes evening, minimum, and that's just something you do. That's the spiritual discipline, and I think we'll talk about that on another page. But a spiritual discipline called sadhana, Sadhana. You should know that word. Sadhana means spiritual discipline, spiritual practice. It's honestly what separates the men from the boys, meaning the advanced practitioners or serious meditators from people who do it kind of just, haphazard whenever they want to. If you only meditate whenever you want to, you are not burning away your ego. You are not clearing all your emotional blocks. You do not get the benefits that I'm talking about if you don't force yourself to do this. And if it feels like force or discipline in the beginning, it is. Eventually, I like the idea, it takes a rocket ship more energy to get out of the Earth's atmosphere than it does to go around the moon and back. The initial movement to get started is hard. It is discipline. It's not discipline for me anymore. I'll show you someday those stages, 10 stages of spiritual growth. Stages, I'm not going to go into them now, but stages 4, well, up to number 5, even 6 will definitely require discipline. So like half of your spiritual path will be spiritual discipline. Eventually you'll get into the bliss of samadhi, that stage of just bliss, and you're cultivating and feeling that anytime you meditate, anand samadhi. Anytime you meditate, just anand samadhi. And you'll be able to say the word and go into the state. Like it becomes a trigger phrase. I just close my eyes and think anand samadhi. And there's the bliss of God. So that's not discipline. I want to get on the cushion, but in the beginning, you have to force yourself because you sit and you're like, I hate me. My body feels horrible. I feel so heavy. I'm so tired. I'm full of negativity and anger. My mind is all over the place. I'm not experiencing what Matthew's talking about at all. I totally understand because I know I started and I've been practicing for 26 years. So you got to start wherever you're at. 5 minutes minimum. If you can do more, great. Usually we say do more when you want to, but I'll be encouraging you. You can't actually do the whole Anahad system in 5 minutes. To get through the entire flow, by the way, it's like doing a yoga class. You can't do a whole yoga class in 5 minutes. You can't do an entire Tai Chi flow, especially if you're going as slow as they encourage. You can't do an entire flow, and this is, again, an entire flow. You can't do it in 5 minutes. It'll take, to do it depends. I can do it in 5 minutes and have phenomenal results, but again, I've been doing it for a long time. It's not necessarily how long you sit, by the way. You can sit for an hour and accomplish nothing, or you can sit for 5 minutes and have huge progress. We'll talk about that more as we go. But 5 minutes minimum to really, and then how do you know, like once you fully descended? And that's what we'll talk about, proficiency in descending. When are you really good at getting all your energy in your body, fully grounded, fully focused, fully present, fully here and now? No matter what, I'm going to talk for 10 more minutes. Well, actually, when do we start? It's about 6:11. All right, I think we're good. I don't want to go for more than an hour of talking before we can get on the cushion. So 5 minutes morning and evening. I would recommend 10 if you're kind of serious about doing descending, at least 10 minutes, but you really want to do it until you are descended. And then you move on to meditation 2, meditation 3, etc. So if you have to sit for 5, 10, 20 minutes to feel descended, then keep doing that. But as far as minimum practice, 5 minutes. If you feel like your body can handle it, start setting timers for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I don't think you should go more than 30 minutes sitting in a lotus position until we've had more time to talk. And don't hurt yourself. So, if it gets really uncomfortable, obviously come out of the posture. I'll come back to the chat pod soon because I know that's an important topic. So again, sit as long as you can. And then when you're uncomfortable, go a little longer and then just stop. or you can do it based on the timer. 5 minutes minimum. What you find when I start taking through the entire system, at least a half hour when we sat in Anahat Meditation Center in the Berkshires. Every morning we'd sit for an hour, and it would take me about an hour to go through the whole thing. By the way, the whole thing is level 1 and 2. Level 3 deals a lot with deep intermystical experience that you can't practice, but it really deals a lot with sexual, very powerful sexual energy. And I don't think I'm demonstrating anything on camera, so all I can say is you can get through level 1, probably in a half, levels 1 and 2, probably in a half hour if you're really good, really advanced at it, and you don't have a whole lot of stuff going on. You can get fruition of level 1 and 2 in about a half hour. Level 3 with a sexual energy with a partner or on your own, well, at least another half hour. That stuff's so pleasurable. By the way, Tantra is a spiritual path. Embracing the sexual energy is a spiritual path, which we're not doing yet in Descending. Meditation 1 doesn't go there. I want to emphasize that. Once we start tapping into the tantric ideas, that's one of the fastest ways to know God because it's so pleasurable. It's not this horrible discipline that's miserable. So it's only going to be like a little while. And honestly, we just don't get into level 3 until we get to it. But you won't feel like it's all that much discipline. If you're doing this with a partner, oh my God, you guys are going to feel so good. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to see videos. But I'm telling you, there is sexual energy, but you don't have to be with a partner. It's going to be completely monastic. And I'll be very candid right now to a degree. Because of COVID, I live on the top of a mountain by myself. It's just me. And it's awesome because again, there's no sacrifice for a monk. Nobody goes in a cave by themselves for misery. When you can't move and you have the bliss of God integrating with sexual energy, not released. Like I said, Ramakrishna, I said this in the introduction, he had a disciple who asked him, Master, show me God. He said, how can I show you God when you're a leaking bucket? So we'll talk a lot about sexual energy cultivation, sublimation. That Freudian slip sounded really bad when I heard it afterwards. Anyway, sexual energy sublimation and transformation. I'm going to listen to that later. Anyway, so super powerful stuff. Moving on, we'll ask questions about practice time soon. The breath, super important in Anahat. The breath is intimately connected to your life force energy and therefore to your blood and energy flow, and it's connected to your mind. When your breath is quiet, your mind is quiet. And there's very advanced pranayama teachings we'll get into in different ways, but advanced practice doesn't require the external pranayama practices. Pranayama in yoga is usually known as breathing exercises. You can do those if you want to. You can do as much of it as you want to. I can teach it to you, but I don't really do a lot of formal pranayama, at least not external pranayama. Prana is the life force, prana is the life force energy. Yam is to control it. And that's not a great translation. Yam is a restriction, a cultivation, a gathering, if you will. You don't need to do anything physical to do that, so you can't see me do pranayama, but I can explain it. And I will for just a moment now, because I do want you to get a sense of where all this goes. But what I'll say is I'll talk about basic breath practice in a moment. Try to watch my breath. There, I don't know how much you can see, there is no breath. When intense pranayama happens, you gather all the chi into one place, and you barely have to breathe because there's so much life force in your system. Like I'm aware, my diaphragm muscle, everything I feel is not moving. And it's not that breathing doesn't occur, you have to keep your nostrils open, but that's like, in some way to describe it as much as you can describe these inner experiences. Pranayama is when all the energy gathers in a very powerful inner place. In the beginning of working with pranayama, so you need to understand how the breath moves. And probably I can show you when I'm sitting. You inhale, your diaphragm muscle pulls down. Please research proper breathing. That would be a good homework assignment for this week. Literally just do Google proper diaphragmatic breathing. That'd be a good thing to type in. Proper diaphragmatic breathing. There's got to be some good videos on YouTube about how to breathe. And all I'm going to encourage you to do, aside from very deep stuff, is breathe properly. So inhale, your belly fills. Exhale, and the belly moves back in. The breath should be, especially with descending, very low in the body. As you inhale, feel your navel move out. I hope you put your hand there. One hand's on my heart right now, one's at my navel. Inhale, belly pushes down and out. Exhale, belly pushes back in. The diaphragm pulls down on an inhale because you tense that muscle. That's active. So inhale is active, tensing the diaphragm. Exhale, passive, relaxing the diaphragm. Anybody who teaches this always talks about how most people breathe up here. When you breathe up in your chest, that's fight or flight mode. You're putting your autonomic nervous system into parasympathetic functioning, which is fight or flight. You stay stuck in that, you're going to develop psychosomatic illness. So stop it and take big belly breaths and drop into your body, into the lower registers of your voice, down into the humanness. So as you inhale, the belly moves out. Exhale, the belly moves in. And what I just explained about pranayama is very advanced. What we're doing right now is just breathing. And again, that's very Zen practice. Just inhale. Exhale. And just do that, focusing below your navel. Inhale below your navel. Exhale, keep your awareness below the navel. And I'll show you this when I'm sitting. The breath is very deep in the body, and your attention goes down there with it. It's not as ecstatic as some of the stuff I'm showing you, but I'm glad I can show you, because if not, it would just be talk. So when I'm descending, I'm just here with you. I'm just present. But it's nice. It's really good. Inhale. Exhale, with the attention below the navel. And then we'll talk about, what does it look like on the meditation cushion? But that's it, except for what do you do with your mind? What we are doing with the breath is we're finding, this is good if you're taking notes, the breath within the breath. You don't put the air in your lungs below your navel, right? Your lungs, in case you don't know, you can't see, but your lungs are up here. But when we say breathe below your navel, I've taught this. I know beginners sometimes ask this question. What do you mean, breathe below my navel? My breath doesn't go down there. The air doesn't go down there. The breath within the breath goes down there. The breath within the breath is prana. Again, I want you to know all these Sanskrit words for this energy. Prana, Shakti, Chinese Qi, Japanese Ki. Depending on how you translate Ruach HaKodesh, the Hebrew for the breath of God, you could call that the Holy Spirit, but Holy Spirit has many other themes besides just the breath within the breath. But I would say it is Ruach HaKodesh, the breath within the breath, the Holy Spirit. Again, that word has lots of meaning for people, but there is this spirit, this energy inside of you. So when we're breathing below the navel, cultivating Jiriki, intense concentrated power, it's the breath within the breath that you inhale, you cultivate it there. You exhale, you keep it there. It's like you pack it even more. Later, we'll get into Meditation 12, which looks like something called Taoist bone breathing, where we're packing the bones with Qi. The implications of that, if there's any reality to that, are significant. Literally, the yogis talk about making their bones glow. Oh no, but there's a lot to experiment on here. So you gather the Qi in the inhale, you keep it there, and I can really show you and talk you through it while we're sitting. That's the breath. Let's go to the mind and then to the chat pod. All right, so what do you do with your mind? I know it's a very long class, so again, I hope you'll watch the recording if you need to log off. But I'm going to finish this today for sure. The mind. Obviously, that's the big thing, right? What do you do with that? Well, if you're just following your breath, so let me say this. Meditation, the way I'm going to define it, and one definition of meditation is putting your attention on something. Meditation is the act of placing your attention where you want it to be. Right now, it's largely focused on the light on my camera. And knowing that I'm talking to other spiritual human beings. My attention is there. So right now, you can do it if you like, just whatever you're going to stare at. So my eyes are open, I'm staring at a camera. The camera is now the object of my meditation. There's one little light there, which is a great point of fixation. And I'm just looking at it. So now, excuse me, when we're sitting and we're breathing, so you relax your eyes. When you're sitting and breathing, the breath, for now, just for now, the breath becomes the primary object of fixation and not your mind. So what do you do with your mind? If you notice you're thinking, go back to breathing. So you're like, oh, I was just thinking about what to do. You totally forget you're breathing. Come back to breathing. Don't try to stop your mind. Don't think you should have a quiet mind. You're going to realize just how messed up you are inside when you sit. I'm sorry, but unless you've gone through this whole type of path, path that has cleared your insides, I'm going to make you look at your stuff. You can't sit on a cushion that long and not see your stuff, especially if you start doing more than a half hour a day. Try, we'll talk about eventually long retreats. One of my first retreats at my Zen teacher's house was 9 days by myself sitting in meditation. If you don't think you're going to see your stuff, you will. So while we're sitting and breathing, we're going to notice all sorts of distractions. Try to eliminate every outer distraction as possible. That's perfectly reasonable. Make your space as quiet as possible. Shut the phone and everything. Tell people, leave me alone for this time. Whatever you got to do to create a safe, sacred space. But then you're going to have tons of internal distractions. When they come up, it's like, oh, okay, there's anger. Let it be there. Don't suppress it. Then breathe and come back to your breath. No matter what you're feeling, breathe, right? You're alive, you're breathing. So inhale, exhale. If you look at what Buddha was teaching right after his enlightenment, it was pretty much that. All the bhikkhus, is a word for beggar, because the monks were ascetic, or not ascetic, that's not accurate. To our standards, they would be ascetic. The Zen, the early Buddha, not even Zen, the early Buddhist monks, Buddha's monks were beggars. They were monastics. They went from house to house teaching the Dharma, begging for food and going and practicing meditation. And whenever they were stressed or something was difficult, they would breathe. That's what the monks did. Not that there aren't deeper practices, but again, the breath is everything. So inhale, exhale. When you get caught in your mind, come back to your breath. Remember, you don't have, if you go down to your hara, below your navel, you're going to get your consciousness out of your mind because you don't have so much energy in that thing. It'll quiet down on its own. That's a key part of practice. However, you do have thoughts, and there's a very important point of practice, like very important. You need to know what to do with your mind because you got to do something with your mind. In yogic philosophy, we have a word called klisht and then aklisht. Klisht, let me be sure I'm translating this properly. Klisht. Yeah, I believe the term klisht, I'm pretty sure it's accurate, but either way, you'll get my point. Klisht are thoughts that lead to suffering. If I'm thinking about anything that makes you feel bad, basically. But that can be pretty subtle about a negative thought. But basically, any thought that's guiding you away from God, it's safe to say is a thought that is cliche. Aklish are thoughts that don't cause suffering. That's the whole point here, regardless of this word, which I think is translated properly. Cliche, thoughts that cause suffering. Aklish, thoughts that don't cause suffering. Better than that, thoughts that light you up in bliss and ecstasy. We'll probably get into that next week. Really, really good mantra practice. But for now, here's your homework. Counting your breaths. I know it's not all that exciting, but trust me, 26 years of doing this, I still count my breaths to this day. It's not all I do. It's not all you have to do. But let me encourage you, if you're going to say, I'm going to meditate for 5 minutes, you assume the position, you get on the cushion, however that is. So get on the cushion, assume the position, and then that's step one, is take the seat. In yoga, it's called asana or asana. The primary seat is on the cushion. Then you focus on your breathing. So sit, breathe below your navel because we're descending, and count your breaths. All right, that's basically all you're doing. Breathing and counting. I know it's not very exciting yet, but again, trust me, I'm going to encourage everybody for this week, but maybe for the next year or two. There'll be more stuff, but count your breath. It's very important to be able to do that. If you can't do it, you should practice. If you can do it perfectly, good, you're ready to move on. But please start with beginner's mind. Start with meditation 1, descending, breathing, focus below your navel in a proper meditation position. With eyes open, by the way. When I sit, I'll talk to you more about eyes open or eyes closed, but it's really something to talk about. We might not cover it all today. The energetic of why we actually sit with eyes open in Zen practice. Again, descending has a lot of Anahat sacred geometry overtones and theistic overtones, but really, it's just really good Zazen Zen practice. And with Zazen, the eyes are open. That can be hard. It takes special training and getting, not that hard, but you need some tips. While you're practicing this very basic meditation, count your breaths. Inhale 1, exhale 2. So every breath is counted. Inhale 3, exhale 4. God, this is going so, looking at the clock. I think we're okay. So inhale, all right, let's go back to focused. Inhale 1, exhale 2. Inhale 3, I'm going a little fast. I'm starting to get into it just a bit. No big deal, but just breathe with me. 1, 2. Inhale 3, exhale 4. Inhale 5. I'm going to stop looking at the camera. Exhale 6. Inhale 7. Exhale 8. We're going a bit faster for the teaching time. Inhale 9. Exhale 10. I know it doesn't sound super glorious, but trust me, everything I'm talking that I feel inside came about starting this way. So just do it. When you get to 10, start again at 1. If your mind wanders where you're not in touch with your breathing or counting, just pretty much start again at 1. If you totally lost it, no problem, no guilt, no shame. That's the practice. To do it with compassion. Oh, all right, I'm still caught up in all that silliness. Let it go. Come back to breathing and counting. And just count every breath for this week. Eventually, so inhale 1, exhale 2, inhale 3, exhale 4, like that. Just do that for this week. If you've been doing that for a very long time, you won't regret it. You'll know how to go deeper on your own. But I encourage everybody, this week is just about only descending. Like, let everything else go. No ascending, no heart stuff. Just like your entire, if you want to do this, up to you, but this is how Anahat is learned. You dedicate at least a month, really, but we're doing at least a week to just descend. Everything is about descending. No higher consciousness, no higher chakras, no angels, no out-of-body stuff. Just descend. Okay, breathing count. If you lose touch with the counting, come back to your breathing counting. But if you just kind of wander a little bit, but you're still doing your practice, it's okay. But let go of the thought, engage it more. Engage the breathing and counting as if your life depends on it. If you don't get that level of intensity, it's hard to keep your mind disciplined. When you inhale, imagine you're keeping not always imagine this, but have this feeling of intensity. As you inhale, imagine that's what's keeping the roof above your head, because if you lost that breath, it would fall on your head. And when you exhale, it's keeping the same thing. My point is, without you focusing on the ceiling, if you miss a breath, it's life or death. Do it with that level of intensity, because like I'm saying, Juriki is intense, concentrated power. By the way, this is the primary difference between hypnosis and meditation. If you just had an aha moment, maybe I knew you were gonna have an aha moment before I said that. Some of you, I think, are like, hypnosis is not, now that you're learning about me as a meditator, and most of you know me as a hypnotherapy teacher, hypnosis is not this, right? What I'm showing you here is so much greater than just what we know about in hypnosis. Because again, as I always say, meditation teachings are thousands of years old. There's an early engraving on a stone of a yogi in India in meditation. It's 5,000 years old. They were definitely doing this for at least 5,000 years. Take that in for a moment. Buddha taught this basic stuff 2,500 years ago. You might think, it's kind of basic, but I'm telling you, I still practice meditation, descending number 1 with breathing and counting to this day. It really does something to you. So when you get to 10, just start again at 1. If your mind wanders, just pretty much start again at 1. Don't beat yourself up that your mind wandered. You just do the practice for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes. I'd recommend you push for 10 in the beginning. If you can do more, great. I've done that for 10 hours a day for like a week at a time, literally. Like pretty much all you do. You walk, you eat, you sleep, but the rest of the time you are on the cushion, breathing and counting. I've done this all through the entire night, many times without sleep, just breathing and counting. The goal is not the breathing and not the counting. You just have to trust that the practice guides you in. If we're going to say there's a goal, because in a sense there is, the goal is God, whatever you want to call that, enlightenment. The goal is enlightenment, not perfect breathing and counting. Eventually, you'll let go of the counting and you'll let go of that kind of breathing, but it's always part of the practice. Just like when you do yoga, you're always breathing into those poses. You don't get so advanced that you stop breathing. Right? So you're always mindfully, consciously breathing. With this, we have intense concentrated power. Oh yeah, and by the way, so that's the major difference between hypnosis and meditation, in my opinion. Intense concentrated power. Hypnotic clients don't get that really at all. We get it for a moment. We say, focus on a spot on the ceiling. We do that in hypnosis, look in my eye, for maybe 5 seconds. And we alter people's states. Now imagine doing that intense concentration in the present moment for hours a day. And what's implied in that statement is what's actually really here and now. You think you know, but I'm going to suggest, I'm very respectful for those who do know, like who are enlightened, but I'm going to say for most human beings, which is probably most people listening, you don't know. You're asleep. What's here now when you're awake is the infinite presence and glory of God. And that, like, I'm not saying that as a religion or philosophy or belief. That everything we're talking about in this class is right here now, but nobody's right here now. So practice, breathe in, breathe out. Inhale 1, exhale 2, get to 10, start again at 1, do it over. The moment you sit down, I always bow to start, put my hands in Maha Mudra, assume the position, and I inhale 1, exhale 2. If the first thought starts with the desire for enlightenment and intense practice, all subsequent thoughts do. If the first thought starts from delusion, all subsequent thoughts do. Meaning if you start with that wandering, crazy mind, it's going to dominate most of your practice. But if you sit down and say, no, I'm doing my practice, 1, 2, and then you start getting caught in your mind, because you will, and you forget counting, 1, 2. See if you can make it to 10. And then notice when you made it to 15, and you're like, who is counting? Obviously not you. You weren't mindful at that moment. So get to 10, start at 1. If you get to 12 or whatever, just start again at 1. And I don't want to give you too many options right now because it's just not a good way to start. Here's a very important teaching, deep meditation, spiritual training. You don't want to dabble in 20 different systems, 20 different spiritual paths, and think you're making any progress. You make what they call a spiritual salad. Little lettuce, little spinach, you got a big spiritual salad. I'm kind of Hare Krishna, kind of Buddhist, kind of Christian, kind of Jewish, kind of Kabbalistic, love Sufism. That's great. I encourage you to study all world religious and spiritual traditions, but have your path. The one thing you do that takes you deep. Because if not, you're just skimming the surface of every tradition. Right? Deep Sufis hadn't just read Rumi once. Didn't listen to Deepak Chopra talk about Rumi once. And you're like, oh yeah, I know Rumi. I know Sufism. No, you just skim the surface. When I'm saying just breathe and count, you can eventually, and I'll encourage you to do it, add in your own spiritual religious themes. But the core of present moment awareness, I believe, has been best found in Buddhist and Buddhist practice. Breathe and count. And eventually you'll start to let some of that go or modify it, but I encourage you to modify it with your teacher as you move along. So it allows for, I'm not only breathing and counting when I'm blissing out in God, going, 1, 2, you're amazing. It's different, but it's still part of my practice. I can't encourage it enough. Moving on, and then please, we'll definitely have question and answer about this stuff. And get on the cushion for sure. Any good meditation practice should inspire you to get on the cushion. I really hope I am. Discipline, discipline on the page. It says, I gave you the term sadhana, spiritual practice, spiritual discipline. That's what I mean. Just 5 minutes morning and evening, no matter what. Unless it's like literal life or death. If not, get on the cushion no matter what. And then try to build that up to 20, 30 minutes. Would be a really nice basic practice, maybe more. Once you learn how to do those very, really long periods of time. And it just takes a lot of practice and effort. So, you discipline yourself. You make yourself do it. It doesn't let your ego run the show for at least those 5 minutes. Even if you can go kill someone, nope, you got to get on the cushion for at least 5 minutes. And we'll talk a lot next time we meet about clearing the emotional blocks while you're not letting yourself move. because it'll liberate your heart of all pain and fear. Like, I'm serious. Like, you will not have emotional blocks in your heart anymore when you do this kind of stuff long enough. But without the discipline, you don't start carving those channels. Remember, we're talking about energy moving through the system. Any blocked emotion is a veil. And most people are so filled with veils, they do not see reality at all. Awakening is when all the veils are cleared. There's other ways to do it, but in meditation, we have to get on the cushion. Jiriki, we talked about that. Sanyam is the Sanskrit word for the Japanese word jiriki. Concentrated power, we've covered. Let me just touch upon to plant some seeds. Dharana is another word for intense concentration. But every Sanskrit or Japanese word, words or whatever, not just only Sanskrit, Japanese, Hebrew, I've found is a great model, but any language that has words for something that English doesn't have words for is good to know about. So we say prana, shakti, chi, ki, reiki, animal magnetism. If I say animal magnetism and reiki, there's two different meanings there, probably. Reiki is like the hands-on healing a lot of people have learned now. And animal magnetism is like what Franz Anton mesmerism, was doing, that he thought he was doing, probably was, way back when, in like the 1700s. So there are different words that describe different inner experiences. Like I'm saying, when I feel the energy move, feeling is not the right word, because then you think, oh, it's like a physical feeling. It's obviously not a physical feeling. When I say I see the grids and the light and whatnot, it's not my physical eyes that do it. There's another word for seeing in Sanskrit, which is actually a more accurate word. It's called darshan. Dharana, the word on the screen now, is, and you could just say for now, intense concentrated power. But it's a word that will occur at a certain stage of meditation, more advanced, and I won't demonstrate for the sake of time right now, more advanced than pranayama. If I go into it, it'll take too long. So let's just give you the English word, the understanding. So dharana is intense concentrated power, but I'm going to suggest it's very inward. It is, because there's a stage that comes before dharana called pratyahar. I'm going to do it very brief for you. Pratyahar. So first, asan, my body comes to stillness. My hands are going to this ascending triangle for a reason right now, but I'm going to put them down. So you can do this with me if you want, as much as you can. Or just kind of, listen, watch, get a sense of what's happening in more advanced meditation. So we bring the body to stillness, asan. Pranayam, we regulate the breath, the life force energy. Again, this is much more advanced than breathing and counting. Pratyahar, I withdraw from all my senses and the energy goes deep inside. I don't want to explain it all right now, but I'll teach you later. So I'm 100% absorbed inside. Dharana, I concentrate on the very core of my being, the soul. So the intense concentrated power of dharana is placed on spirit, on consciousness, and therefore on God. So the deepest meditation is to meditate on God. And dharana is a word for that, in the deepest sense. The next word on the page, dhyan, it's all very similar, and there really are no English words at this stage. Dhyan means meditation, but obviously that word has a lot to explain. There are no words in true dhyan. I'm aware of the I am presence. There's a way of understanding God. Right? I am that which I am, and I'm totally one with it, totally conscious of it. Samadhi is the total oneness with it. And those are the words on the page. Now, the word sanyam, which we're looking at, I don't think it's on the page. It's very interesting to shift, by the way, from all of that to the screen and then back. Sanyam is let's go to the screen. Sanyam is the combination of dharana, dhyan, samadhi. This is very advanced, but I want you to understand, when you're breathing and counting, you are cultivating the ability to do this inner journey. If you don't develop that concentrated mind, you can't go deep. I could teach you mindfulness, stress reduction, relaxation. I don't even mean to do that face when I say it. I'm glad people are doing that. But they divorce the deep spirituality from it, and now people think they're spiritual just because they're consciously chopping their vegetables. That's beautiful, consciously chop your vegetables. But that intense awareness of a meditator has an inner journey that goes to verifiable, in a sense, measurable places. I mean, at least you'll know that you're there when you're there. And when I say, when I close my eyes and do that, I'm not teaching from a book or the screen. It's my inner experience. There's no block. There's no negative emotion. There's just the peace and bliss and light and love of God. That's it. But it's nothing special because it's just reality. The other stuff is your own nightmare and doesn't really exist. What exists is the light and love of God right here now. That's it. Again, anyone who tells you otherwise, it's not clear, it's not there. Anybody who debates it is insane. Why would you be skeptical about this? Why would you say it's not scientific? I'm sitting in the moment. And God is here. That's meditation. We start to get into that by breathing and counting. Next. All right, then we're concluding. So recommendations for ascending and lesson number 1. I'll read my 2 books I've mentioned to you. Proper nutrition. Couple of tips and then feel free to ask questions. Not nutritional advice. Vegetarian is better. Plant-based diet is far better for meditation and is better for the planet. I'm a kind of staunch vegetarian. I'll do a little pescatarian. Fish can be helpful depending on who you are and when, like what stage of your life you're at. And this is not an ethical discussion, even though I'm highly morally, ethically pro-vegetarian. Please, 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 everybody, do the whole world a favor. If you're not vegetarian, please do this. Go to YouTube. I don't know what to type in. I've never done it. But I saw something last night. Oh, yeah. This is what's inspired me to say this. Whatever, you can find it. Go look at how they store the chickens and the cow. No, some of the cows are free range more now, but the pigs and the turkeys and the chickens, please go research something about why vegetarian diet. Guys, if you're eating meat, if you eat chicken and turkeys and they're not free range organic, you are causing so much suffering to this planet, and this is my chance to say that. So, if you're going to eat meat, free range, but I'm not here to talk about that, but I had my chance to say it. What I'm going to say, I see the chat pod, well, I'll come back to you guys soon, because I can't see what you're writing right now, by the way. When your heart is open to love and compassion with no blocks, you never want to cause harm to any sentient being. So free range, organic. So why vegetarian with meditation? Meat. If you ever come to me and say you have active Kundalini, you can't function, it's too intense, one of the prescriptions, to use that word loosely, one of the recommendations, if you will, and if you want to do it, is to eat meat. One of the best ways to sludge your spiritual energy and limit the ability to have out-of-body experiences is meat. So red meat for sure. The more heavy and dense, so red meat, buffalo, whatever, bison, those kind of things, heavy, dense. I would encourage you, if you can safely, consult your doctor, whatever. Try to let it go. I say try because it can be a process. I'm not here to talk to you all about vegetarianism right now, but safely start to move through those stages of letting go of red meat, eventually maybe letting go of chicken, probably let go of first because it's a bit more adjustic. Chickens are like crazy. Turkeys are a bit more calm. You're taking on the energy of every animal you eat, not just their hormones and antibiotics and fear chemicals. You're taking on the energy of the being. And if it was really scared or really, like a chicken, make it cluck like a chicken, you take on you are what you eat, right? So if you want to have really deep spiritual experiences, keep moving more towards live food, vegan. I'm not saying I'm 100% live food vegan anymore, although I've definitely done it. And we'll talk about at some point perhaps why, but I'll touch on it briefly. Raw food vegan is and then of course there's even more subtle, but to be able to actually live and function with enough nutrients in your body, everything is live. You don't cook anything. So just get more raw food in your diet, fruits, vegetables, but again, you got to listen to your own body, right? Not too much sugar. So veggies, live veggies are still alive. You cook it, you kill it. There's something called zeta potential in water. Oh, so recommended reading, because I can't teach you all this stuff right now. Gabriel Cousins, influential teacher of mine. I know Gabriel is a beautiful, really beautiful being. I don't know if he's still alive, I would think so. But anyway, Gabriel Cousins, and then 2 books. One is called Conscious Eating. So it should be easy to find, even if I don't spell his last name. Gabriel Cousins, Conscious Eating. And his other book, Spiritual Nutrition and the Rainbow Diet. spiritual nutrition and the rainbow diet. It's all about the chakras, eating food that matches the chakras. That sounds a little hokey, but he's a really, really respectable, high-level doctor, one of the most advanced physicians I've ever met. And you can study with him in different ways. He has a center in Patagonia, Arizona. I don't mention all my spiritual places or teachers, by the way. Some I don't want you to go to, honestly. They're mine. So selfish. But Gabriel is, that place I don't go to anymore. So and I haven't been there much. But in Patagonia, Arizona, it's called the Tree of Life Rejuvenation Center. I'll plug it for Gabriel, Dr. Cousins. And in his little meditation hut, if you will, when I was there, a very small meditation house. In the center on the floor is a crystal in the ground with a light underneath. But the point I'm making is around the crystal is a 6-pointed star. I'm like, yeah, go Gabriel. So it's cool meditating with him in Patagonia, Arizona, kind of in the middle of the desert, in this little meditation house with a 6-pointed star on the floor with a very highly enlightened being who fully understands awakening Kundalini. So Gabriel Cousins, spiritual nutrition and the rainbow diet. Honestly, I would just study his stuff, and that's my take on spiritual nutrition. Comes largely from him. As a Chinese medical, I have 2 years of experience, so I'm almost a doctor of Chinese medicine, but I'm not, just to be clear. I have tons of nutrition training, and I've been very active in that whole thing. So I'm going to highly recommend you if you want to start having out-of-body experiences, you definitely want to start moving towards vegetarian. Proper exercise in the body, very quick because of time. Yoga, for sure yoga, just learn it. If you don't think you can do it, just do it. If you can't do it for body reasons, you can still do something. You can still stretch your hand if you can't do something with your shoulder. But stretch and learn something about yoga for sure. To make you don't have to do it, but it was designed to help you to meditate better. If you don't if you don't do yoga, it'll be so much harder to meditate. It's just true. That's why they designed that system. Meditation is a later stage of all that body stretching stuff. So if you do yoga, you do a lot of the stretching and the breathing and the pure lifestyle and the other benefits that come from the yogic lifestyle. And then you get on the meditation cushion. But the better meditators for teaching you how to physically sit are the Zen meditators. The yogis really, they don't quite have the body positions down. Zen got the body position and the simplicity, but yoga prepares you for these deeper mystical plunges that I've been alluding to as well. So a lot of what we're doing is Zen yoga. Both traditions, of course, can do, but Zen to me was always descending. Yoga to me was always ascending. I couldn't balance the two until the Anahat system came to me. So this is a lot of Zen and a lot of yoga. So the better you get at both traditions, the better you'll be at Anahat. But as far as body practice is a term in the Zen tradition. I learned in Zen Mountain Monastery called the 8 Gates of Zen. You could read that book now. It's probably not necessary at all or at this stage. Probably not necessary to go through this successfully. But one of the 8 Gates of Zen is body practice. We take care of our physical bodies, and yoga is great. Personally, a little plug for this. I've been doing P90X, and maybe at 47, I'm nowhere near what I could be, and I just started at the beginning of the year, and it's whatever, but it's been amazing. He does yoga, he does martial arts, there's just everything. It's one of the best systems I've found over many years of taking great care of my body. So P90X, you can go to beachbody.com. I'm plugging in a little, but it's great because you can do it at home and you don't need much. You can just do it in one little room. But either way, I'm going to encourage you. I do strength training. I do weights. I do push-ups and pull-ups and all that stuff. And and then power yoga. So I'm a huge fan of take great care of your body, being as fit and trim as possible. Makes you a stronger meditator to sit on the cushion that long. So I wasn't eating great for the past few weeks. My belly feels a little bit bigger, but generally I always keep my body thin, trim, muscular, fit, toned, flexible, working in good balance. So I'm saying Anahat is about making your whole life amazing. And I'm really taking the time here, even if you have to log off and you're watching this as a recording later. I'm willing to use my voice and this much effort to say, take great care of your bodies. Meditation is not to be overweight. I'm going to use the word fat just to encourage some of you, if you feel fat, you're not going to meditate as well. You don't feel as comfortable in your body. You can't feel the subtle energies. You don't have as much muscle holding up your body in meditation. If you're going to sit that long, it takes muscle, not fat. All right, so if somebody's like really obese hearing this, highly recommended. Just get on top of it. Do the nutrition exercise like everybody tells us to do. All right, so I would just say that's body practice. I've done Tai Chi and Qigong for many years. I don't know how much I'll show you guys, but I'm doing Tai Chi movements all the time. They're great. If I had to choose Tai Chi or yoga for meditation, I would choose yoga, but that's each individual's, but combining both is hard because you're learning too much about two entire systems. So because I'm saying like just choose one spiritual path, if you're still here, it's probably on a hot meditation right now. And I'm going to say if you're going to go deep into one tradition that's really good for the body on a spiritual level, yoga or Tai Chi / Qigong, I would recommend yoga for this. You'll understand some of the deeper aspects of yoga, which have influenced me significantly here. I'll touch upon Taoist teachings for sure as we go. Handling first chakra issues during this week or month, or honestly for the rest of your life. Finances, get your finances in order. I have tons of training on this stuff in our school. Create multiple income streams, become financially free. I'm pretty well semi-retired at 41 years old. People think I work really hard, and I do, but I don't. I mean, this is service. This is going overboard to deliver this system. But I have tons of free time. I can, except for COVID, I can't get on an airplane now. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. And I mean it. I feel extremely free. And I'm going to encourage you guys to get everything in order. I have a low overhead home that I own. But, there's a mortgage, but it's so cheap for me. It's like, this is no big deal. So I'd have an abundance of money is a first chakra blessing. And everybody wants it. I'm not talking about getting rich for egoic means. I'm talking about, in Sanskrit, there's a word called Jivana Mukta or Jivana Mukti. A Jivana Mukti is a totally free, liberated being. If you still work for someone else and have a job, it's okay, but J-O-B, just over broke. If you're just over broke working for someone else, I want to invite you to a much greater life. And hypnotherapy is one of the ways I teach, giving people careers, is a great way for you to at least be your own boss. Beyond that, as you start taking the money you make from whatever your income stream is, and you make 7 lucrative income streams, even if one of the two doesn't, like where right now it's COVID-19, excuse me, it's COVID-19 times as we're recording this, and I'm financially stable. Our school is financially stable. We're still taking people through the training. All the bills are paid. All the taxes are paid. I can't recommend enough. The whole descending thing is about being a functional human being and ideally being a free human being. So financial freedom. Early retirement to me does not mean you don't work. You get sick and die when you stop working. I am semi-retired, but my whole life is dedicated to service. I'm offering this at no charge. I can only use me as an example here. So I only talk about me as a teaching tool, not to gloat or anything at all. I hope it never comes across that way. If it does, email me. I'm only talking about financial freedom because if ideas that are shared are strengthened. So descending means take this week, but obviously now you know why I can't certify you in 4 months. If you come back to me, after you go through 15 lessons, but your life is still a wreck, you haven't mastered meditation at all. To me, Zen, or let's say Anahat meditation, and not Zen. Zen doesn't talk to you about financial freedom. Anahat meditation says, while you're descending, deal with your first chakra, second chakra, third chakra, deal with your lower chakra issues. So first chakra is food, shelter, clothing. You can't meditate if you don't have a good, safe, quiet, stable environment. You can't meditate when you're worrying. You can meditate when you're worrying about your finances, but wouldn't it be beautiful to not? I sincerely, it's a feeling you can have. You need to have the feeling before you have the experience. You want to feel financially free. You have all the money you need. You never have to worry about money again. Feel that now, and the universe will match that feeling. You'll take action to make it happen, but it'll manifest. All right, so first chakra issues, definitely finances. And I'm just going to, again, invite you to early retirement, but never stop serving and helping people and having a phenomenal life. I told you before COVID, I had paraglided in all over this country, like literally all over this country, flew mountains all over on my paraglider with my buddies. But before this, I was in South America, Colombia, and then up to Costa Rica, but then Peru. I got to fly over the mountains of Machu Picchu, and then in Brazil, I got to fly near the Christ the Redeemer statue. We flew near the, like, close as you can get, which is pretty darn close. We flew, like, not over, but we flew around the Christ the Redeemer statue. That's what I was doing before COVID. Traveling around the world paragliding and running my businesses, multiple income streams. I want to give that to you guys. There's many ways I have that in my overall teachings. Meditating on your own, just do it. Now I'm going through this very fast now. Meditating in groups, do it when you can, even though we don't have formal groups for Anahat at the time of these recordings. And then with the audio and video recordings that accompany the workbooks, you just meditate using the recordings. And the one you probably want to use is the one on the website. Let me show you real quick. I'm so conscious that this is a very long class. Website. So on the Anahat Meditation website, under Anahat Meditation, for a guided meditation, for lesson 1 is right here, Anahat lesson 1, disc 3. I'll change that eventually, I hope, from disc. But that's the meditation. Play that, and it'll guide you through 10 minutes of descending meditation. So I hope you're, big flashing lights here, taking that in. Every morning for 10 minutes, every evening for 10 minutes, you can play that recording. And then eventually, you'll be able to do it on your own. But I made recordings because I'm a hypnotherapist. That's what we do. We record our guided meditations, guided hypnosis sessions. So I've made recordings to guide you through Anahat meditation. So just play that for 10 minutes every morning, 10 minutes every evening. It couldn't be easier in that sense. So I'm encouraging you to do it on your own and eventually not need my voice guiding you, because you have to develop your own intense concentrated power. It has to become your practice. You can't have me whispering in your ear for a half hour every time you meditate. But I've made those recordings so you can do that. So please listen to what's below on the screen. It's super valuable. Listen to the introductions, another 50 minutes. Disc 1 and disc 2 are the maybe it'll be part 1 and part 2 when somebody sees, well, the screen is what it is. Anyway, listen to part 1 and part 2 as a teaching, and then practice with meditation 3 every morning, every evening. In a week, I'll give you meditation 2, and we'll start practicing heart-centered meditation together using that recording. If there's any takeaway from this entire 4-hour class, do the meditations I'm giving you that guide you through, because I know how to do that as a rather advanced hypnotherapist. I know how to guide you to where I want you to go, where you want to go. All right, so that's what that is. And please take advantage of those resources, or it'll be very hard. Let's finish the PowerPoints, the PDF, and then we need to meditate. Notes, that's it. All right, so that if you print it out, there were pages for notes, but try not to print all that stuff and save some trees. All right, let's take not too long for Q&A, but if you have one really pressing question, feel free to ask, and then I'm going to get on the meditation cushion. All right, and you guys have typed before. Let's see what's in there. Someone said, raw eating will amaze you. Any movement toward it will be healing. All right, so great, yeah, thank you. Raw is great. Just get more raw in your diet, but let me encourage you to avoid extremes and listen to your own body. Do everything slow as you're changing. And in Chinese medicine, we have building diets, sustaining diets, and eliminative diets. When I got to my second Chinese, I don't think I told you guys, I went to one Chinese medical school that was on the intro PowerPoint, and I went to another. So I have 2 total years. In my second acupuncture school, they talked about building, sustaining, eliminating diets, and I was pure raw food vegan when I got to, and I was leaving my body every day, literally, I'm not lying, every day. I can't imagine lying to you, but I just want you to know, like, when I say every day, I'm very conscious of my words. Every day when I wanted to, not saying every single day, but anytime I wanted to, which sometimes was night after night after night, I would leave my body and have some phenomenal experience and then come back and continue. I was so ungrounded and so doing raw food vegan, studying with Gabriel Cousins at the time as well. So raw food vegan, but in acupuncture school, they're like, that's not gonna last, that's not sustainable. So I do a sustaining diet now, right the middle way. Not heavy building diet, but if I'm doing like, I wanna build more muscle mass, and that's really the reason you might do it. Or if you're coming back from a weak place, you gotta build your body, you're low in qi and blood, so you might start eating some more meat. I don't, but there's a lot of ways to build your system, a lot of ways to cleanse your system. So when you're beginning now, if you go towards more cleansing, that makes sense. Maybe even learn about how to fast properly and go more raw food vegan, stay kind of around there. But eventually, anything that's too eliminative will weaken your system. But when you want to start doing more out-of-body stuff, I am right now sustaining because I'm here to serve and to teach. I'm not here to fly around the universe anymore. Teach you how to do it, but I will be very honest. It gets better than that, by the way. I'd rather feel the bliss and love of God right here now than have to fly around my body and not feel God. And so out of body doesn't mean you know God. So we'll talk a lot about that later. Anyway, there's stages. So thank you for that comment. And try the middle way, sustaining diets. But during this phase, when you're just starting, you might lean towards eliminative cleansing, purifying, more live foods, more raw foods. Try not to overcook your foods. And yeah, try to let go of all that meat if you guys are still eating meat. Again, if you come to me with a Kundalini, overactive Kundalini, and Gabriel Cousins is one of my teachers for this stuff. The guy's off the charts really right now after so many years. I'm sure I knew him like 20 years ago, so if he's still around, he's an amazing being. And I don't plug many teachers much in these classes. So anyway, somebody said, I feel so much energy just from this chat. Wow. Oh yeah, I'm grateful to share all this because I feel it too. As you give it away, you strengthen it. I'm practicing more myself. I'm ready to get on the cushion, which means that, yeah, it's growing in me too in the most amazing ways, more than I ever thought, honestly. The system is better than I had thought when it came to me because I'm still doing it 20 whatever years later, and it just gets better and better, especially as I'm teaching it. All right, bear with me. First time we're trying this. There's a little camera down here, so I need to, it's down like by my waist. So I need to be sure I move first before I turn it on. It's going to show you my meditation cushion in this room. It's not my actual meditation space. It's just there for you guys. And I'm going to take off my suit jacket top, and I'm kind of in pajamas. And we're going to meditate together, talking you through this whole theme. Let's see how we're going to do that. All right, there we go. What can you do? We're all adapting to the times. So I invite you, if you're ready, find a meditation cushion. And let's get the angle. I hope this works because it'll be a pain if it's not. It's just me here. All right. I chose all black. You can wear whatever you'd like. All right, hold on. I played with this all day. It can work. There we go. It's pretty good. All right, so we're sitting together. This is cool. It's a new experience. Zabutan, Zafu. Again, you don't have to be all black. I don't always wear all black when I'm by myself. I just chose this for the exercise. I might do it every time. We'll see. Whatever. This is quarter lotus. And again, I'm on a buckwheat zafu, not K-pop. I like buckwheat. All right, here's without the cushion, by the way. So it's, yeah, you see the camera blurry. I'm trying not to do that. This is full of buckwheat. I like it better. I've used both. K-pop is really hard and dense. If you're in your 20s, maybe you like K-pop, but buckwheat, whatever color you like. Again, color isn't what this is all about. So notice here, I do yoga, right? So my knees are not like, most of you would be like, you know, that. You want to work. This is why we do yoga. It's fun to show you because I think most people don't know what it looks like in real meditation. When you see a picture of people like this, you know, in their business suits, that's not how to meditate. You can't sit long like this. You're going to slouch. There's a wall right behind me, so it's a small room. You're going to end up slouching and you're using your quadriceps to stay up. It doesn't work. When you get flexible enough, your knees go down. And I can do this. You know, my knees are, they look like they're up, but like this is as low as it can go pretty much. And, you know, it's flexible enough to go that low. So there's a strength and flexibility in the pose. But without the zafu, you're just not as solid as you could be. And you can't sit as long. So long story short, this is what evolved over 2,500 years. When we do, I'm showing some of the Anahat pictures, which are, again, my exact body. If you're like this, as wide as these can go, that's about 60 degrees, not quite, or 50, I'm sorry, it's 52 degrees, or whatever. The point is, actually, it doesn't matter. This is very hard to do. I'm pushing my legs open. So just relax them where they want to go, and I don't know how much you can see there. This is a smaller cushion. This comes from Dharma Crafts, this one, so it's a bit smaller. But it's all you need. My knees are comfortable. They're not on the hardwood floor. You can sit this way for hours once you're flexible enough, strong enough, honestly healthy enough. But that's great. You're forcing yourself to be more healthy. Like it's a really good practice. So so flexible. Be a yogini. And so women are yoginis when you practice, or men are yogis. So I'm a yogi, and I practice yoga every day. That's pretty well true. I might miss a day. It might be an exaggeration, but I pretty much do practice yoga and meditation every single day. There are different types of that type of yoga I'm talking about. So you got to find your path, but just start checking out YouTube if you're not doing it. There's teachings there, I'm sure, that can take you to a simple half-hour yoga practice for beginners, for adults, for people who are older. But do it. You can't sit this way without it. But I'll show you the other postures, not the chair, but what you can do here. All right, so that's the legs and they're kind of wide when you do this. They don't have to be, but they'll be wider. For the lotus positions, the knee comes in a little more. This foot goes up and over. So go ahead. I know, not everybody can do it. So that's half lotus. This is my predominant leg that I use. This is a little bit of an awkward position. You got to kind of force your shoulders level because this is asymmetrical, right? So you got to kind of adjust to it, but it's fine. It works really well. I can't see my hands on the screen. There's a microphone in front, but you can see what's happening here because it rests on the foot, and then the hands go down. And it's okay. I was conscious of that when I was going to demonstrate, setting this whole thing up. So sometimes it just ends up like this, and you're like, whatever, because the hands don't matter that much. They matter, but they're not the point of the whole meditation. So sometimes you see this might go down when I'm demonstrating, and it doesn't really mean anything. But ideally, I don't want to get up and move it. So I'm going to have to do that to move the mic because I can't see where my hands are right now. But this is called Maha Mudra. It should form a very nice, beautiful oval. And it can rest on the foot. And then we'll talk about, every little bit of the body now. Again, this is going to be long, so I'll post the video later if you need to go. Anyway, sitting. Left leg is in front when this leg gets tired, or other times, like if I sat, let's say for a half hour, and then I'm done, then I can switch legs. But this is my not as predominant leg, and I'm definitely guilty of that. I was taught early on to be sure to use both legs, and I do, but I do this one less. So try to do both because it will help keep your body better balanced. So these are this quarter, half lotus, and done with one foot and the two different legs. And then of course, our full lotus. This is actually easier to do when you are not on the cushion, because then the legs can go up even more. And then you can do this if you want. I haven't done that in a while. All right, so here the knees are down, I think you can see, but not as much as when I lift, right? So that's what the cushion does. It gets your knees on the ground. All right, so that's the feet. I can stay this way, but let's go to, this is how I meditate most of the time, in quarter lotus. So that's the legs. Oh, and then seiza. The cushion is flat now. Just the way I was sitting on it before. So knees are down. They can be wide. It doesn't really matter. And the shins are down. So same thing. You get nice straight spine. I don't ever use it, but it's a really good option if you can't do those other positions. You have the seiza bench. And if the cushion, if this is really hurting, it's too tight, you can turn the cushion sideways. I don't know if you can see that. Everything is black. When you turn the cushion like that and sit on it, right? So my hips don't go down anymore. They used to. So because you wouldn't want to sit all the way flat anyway, ever really for a long period of time this way, it's kind of a stretch. So put the cushion this way or this way, straddle the cushion, and most anybody can do this. You don't get the same pyramid benefit, but you almost kind of do. But again, I don't like it and it really comes down to the energetics. Maybe how long you can sit, but more importantly, when I sit like this, I'm kind of conscious of all of this because I want you to be able to see like curves. There's V's in the body and the whatever. So let's try to show you everything I can. Legs, spine. My sitting bones, I can go sideways, but they're tilting forward a little. My belly did get a little bigger. So here, this is doing a little bit of that, tilting just a little bit forward. I'll show you that that whole dynamic. This is so awkward. That whole dynamic of the hips pivoting will be something to come back to later. Let's just say that. But what's happening here with that motion, the energy, especially with our descending energetic, is coming down below the navel. So the hands will go here when we're in full lotus, right? The legs go here. By the way, 2, 1, 2, right? But the 2 become 1. And then you can barely tell which leg is which, although I can tell that this is more uncomfortable than it used to be. So I do like half lotus. All right, anyway, legs, spine. So when the spine has that movement down and the legs are coming in and the hands are coming in, we can gather all of the chi and keep it where we want it to be, and then it moves through the whole system. So circle, right? And just imagine all the glyphs that are on your screen before. And it's not like just me and not you. We're only talking about this because all of this is inside of you as well. So again, this is not just basic meditation. It's its own very unique system called Anahat meditation. When I descend, I'm pulling the energy down below my navel. When I ascend, energy comes up to the crown. When I'm just heart-centered, I'm here, Anahat chakra. Then I'm aware of the sphere. And I can feel and sense and see, and like they're there, all of these, because again, there's no English word for what happens inside. These glyphs are here, these grids are here. It's just like my spine. It's all I'm helping, not all I'm helping you do. What I'm helping you to do as part of this process is to carve these channels. So there's no block in them and you can feel them. When you're coming down and descending, everything goes below the navel. So here, a little puffier than it used to be. Here is my navel, and then my hands are here. So the hara is here. Again, navel is right there. And that's where the hands are, like what I'm showing you, and then they just fold out there. And I do like half lotus. I've done it. I don't do it as much as I'm 47 now. As I get a bit older, yeah, I don't do it as much, but it's perfectly comfortable to keep doing it right now for sure. So again, can see it. They can look really nice. My first teacher, I remember when he sat me down and taught me Zen, it was just me, him. He said, when you, so it's kind of paraphrase, obviously, 20 plus years ago. So when you have your fingers like that, I know why the mic is doing such a stupid thing. It's supposed to be in front of me. Your volume probably just got better. That's how I set it up before. All right, that probably made it easier for you to hear me. So there we go. Now I can see. This is how I demonstrated. Practiced earlier. All right, so hands. Again, see how this is a bit lower because of the foot here. But it works. I would just do this and forget about it. It just doesn't look as good on camera. But this is fine. Try to keep your shoulders level. When I'm on the camera, I can clearly see it. But if that starts happening, you won't even notice while you're blissing out. But you're trying, again, like these are precise geometries. As a kid, I was diagnosed with scoliosis. I don't think I have it now. That's, there's just a line. But I did tons of yoga, and I don't think I have scoliosis anymore. So acromial process of the shoulders, energy down to the hara. When we're doing descending, hands are here at the hara. The breath, inhale, exhale. So if you can imagine, inhale, exhale. We're finding and cultivating the chi, the breath energy. Exhale, inhale, Exhale, we're cultivating intense, concentrated power below the navel. Obviously, this go much faster than it will once we start. So, and remember, this is the introduction to it. The way to have me guide you is on the website. That same thing that said disc 3. That's just 10 minutes of pure descending. This is a complete teaching on how to meditate in, again, very advanced ways. All right, so we're sitting. I want you to see without all the flappies of the clothing. Hands kind of going up, making sure we cover every little detail for you. Legs, hips, attention below the navel. Hands are here. When you put your hands in Maha Mudra, well, my teacher said, he said, it's like you're holding a piece of rice paper between your fingers. Don't push too tight or you crunch it. If you come too loose, you've lost mindfulness. When your fingers open, when you're meditating this way, it's a mindfulness gauge. That's enough of that. It's a mindfulness gauge. So when you say, find the camera here, you're sitting, but your mind wanders, you notice they're apart, just come back. So it's like my head is demonstrating my mind wandered, and these are apart, but there's an energetic of coming back. I'm watching now, but eventually I'm going to stop looking at exact alignments because it looks better on camera, but nobody when they meditates is that concerned about any of this stuff. Okay, so we're dissecting every little bit. Again, left on top of right, yin embraces yang. The chin is down and the breastbone, the sternum is relaxed down. You can be very conscious, like I know my ribs, I can feel I can stick out, but it drops down, especially when we're descending. If you're blissing out, maybe things are going to open like this, but descending is a down and in motion. Gathered here. All the meridians of the arms link up, the meridians of the legs basically. Your whole being will be brought into this, including the heart-shaped wings. Right, so I'm constantly, when I'm doing a meditation, I'm often like this, actually just blissing out. But then I can have energy come up. So where my hands go, it's like Tai Chi. You're moving energy. It's not just that, like this hand is cupping energy. This hand is directing it up the spine. And so the circle, somebody asked about, can you move in circles? Well, yeah, the whole thing is a pivoting circular spherical thing. So sometimes it's still, it's a straight line, and sometimes it's moving, and it's masculine and feminine. It has nothing to do with how you express yourself sexually or anything. It's just they're masculine and feminine energy, so like masculine. So let's take a moment with like real precise. You can do it with me if you want. I know I'm all over the place. Real precise descending. I immediately just thought 1, 2. Totally precise and focused. That I would say is a more masculine, precise, focused, powerful energy. But then when the energy moves, it's a snake. It's a Kundalini. It moves up the spine. It's Kundalini Shakti. It's glorious. It's absolutely everything you'd ever want to feel. So there's both. There's masculine and feminine. Again, this divine androgyny concept is you have circles and you have straight lines. And some people just haven't embraced all of that. Again, it's nothing really to do with how you express yourself sexually. It's just there's masculine, feminine energy in everyone. So this descending energetic, you could see as feminine. It's a chalice. It's the mons pubis. Goes down to the clitoris, but it's just energy pouring into your body. You're cultivating that energy down here. Okay, so again, descending is going to be more yang, focused, precise, but please understand there's so much more. All right, so chin is in, tip of the tongue and the roof of the mouth. It'll feel like you're being pulled up where you want to feel, like your skeleton is hanging like an anatomy class skeleton. So you might tuck the chin in a little when you imagine being lifted up. So that in meditation 12 of Anahat, we deal with the spine a lot, the skeleton a lot. The skeleton stays erect and everything else relaxes down over it. It's essentially, honestly, a lot of what meditation 12 is. But you can't appreciate it until you've gone through everything to get to it. But it brings it back to this perfection. Like I said, when I practice this, everything feels perfect inside. Like, it's just exactly what human is meant to be. That's all I can say. Nothing extra, just this is like, it just feels like the purest expression of being. So in Zen, when they say to sit is your Buddha nature, to sit is enlightenment. So when we're just sitting, like a couple more seconds into that, but within another few seconds, I could speak from that place and tell you just to sit. You can move in very present moment. So be with me. Very present moment is enlightenment. But how long can you maintain this? It's a long class. How long can you just be here? When your mind wanders, come back here. So now we inhale. So we'll start pacing and leading into it. Pace into it. I want my hands to be exact when we start, but I'm just going to forget about the alignments as we move along. Arms. I just let them go, but they say it's like in Zen, like you're having an egg under each shoulder. But this is not a Zen monastery. It's not a Zen center. It's not even Zen. I'm just taking what I can from each tradition that really knows what it's doing, but not a spiritual salad. What we're doing inside is its own system, but we're learning how to sit through the Zen meditator. So it's usually a bit more out. But anyway, we're going to let it drop down and be comfortable. Eventually, other tips about that. No, we'll wait. There's other things you can do with your hands, but you might as well learn as you go. Because you can see, like when I'm doing this kind of stuff, or even like a mudra that looks like, I don't like that one, but this mudra shoots energy right up your spine. And you'll feel the difference between this, like look at this, as opposed to this. It does something different. Again, that's why this posture is so valuable for somebody who really knows what's going on inside. All right, so my eyes are open. Where the body is thirsty. I am, without looking at the screen, working again my spine as aligned as possible. And that might happen throughout the meditation just because the energy itself will do it. You can also rock a little when you start, or circles. I like kind of circles. And you make the circle smaller until you find the very center point. I'm squaring my shoulders kind of against the back wall so they feel as aligned as possible. If I look up, yeah. And then, so, I want that alignment because I'm matching the grids with the body. And again, yoga, take care of your body, or not everybody looks, aligned. And chiropractic is all about that, right? So I'm telling you, when you sit this way, there will be little micro adjustments. It's kind of, I can't really show you them my elbows, but that's part of why I want to keep that tighter. My body will move when I sit. I'm not rigid at all, but there is the straight line, very intense part of the practice. Okay, so we'll talk about that. Let's be sure to get everything else before we start really moving into it. So eyes are open. The eyes are about a 45-degree angle. I'm not looking up straight. I'm not looking at the camera right now. I'm not looking down here. But my eyes are open, even though they might look closed when I focus down. So we have to take a moment and say, why eyes open? Because you thought you were going to close your eyes and blew up. You don't always have to do descending with eyes open, but this is the essence, of epitome, if you will, of descending. Because eyes open, I'm here, like I'm right in the room. Nothing special. But that's the deepest Zen teaching. Nothing special. Here you are, but you're Buddha right here now. Again, to be here now is enlightenment. Just to sit is enlightenment. So we're sitting with our eyes open. So you can be there with your kids in meditation. Meditation, that's why that's why I'm so cautious about saying Zen meditation. This is Zen, the sitting practice. Then there's walking Zen called Kinhin. There's eating Zen called Oryoki. When you are practicing Zen, it's every moment Zen. When you go to work, you're at your job, whatever, that's work practice. Take care of your body through yoga, meditation, yoga, working out, whatever. Body practice. So everything is practice. When you meditate, practice. You're practicing meditation. You're not good at it. You practice meditation. So when the eyes are open, you're not looking at anything. It's more of a peripheral, diffuse gaze. Let's do it and give you every little detail. This is the one time. I don't know how much we're going to every little detail in that again. I haven't talked about the breath quite yet as far as what starts happening in a moment. But when my eyes are open, but I start engaging my practice, I stop looking through my eyes. They're open, but I'm not really seeing the way you normally think of seeing. Um, so you'll forget about your eyes is really what happens. And then it's not an issue, but you can blink when you need to blink. If you had to close them, okay. But I'm gonna encourage you, try to practice with eyes open. In Arahat, lingo, descending, like here, is very much a morning kind of thing. At night, I'll teach you to leave your body and fly around the universe. When you get back in the morning, get back in there, get back in your body. So descending is a morning energetic, very much so, because we're going to start our day this way. And I'm just here. I'm just present. Now I can go and be with other human beings as a kind, loving, caring, yet strong, powerful, confident individual. Like everything you need is you right here now. When you gather all your energy right here now, we're so full of blocks and stuff. I'm talking about a place with no blocks, just right here now. And then continue your day with that presence, that focus, that, and honestly, because we have to the heart next week, love and compassion. So eyes are open to help you to integrate it into your life. Evening, we might still start with descending, but eventually at night, I'm closing my eyes and blissing out. Like enough of all that stuff out there, I'm going in. I remember in college, my friends would go do all their stuff. I'm like, see ya, I'm going in. And like in our conversations with God, he says, if you don't go within, you go without. If you're out there, okay, because we're all out there, I'm out here right now. When I close my eyes, I just went in. But descending is kind of being out, but right here, just right here. It's a very, again, this is pure, as much as I think anybody, as I can say, pure Zen. It's just sitting here now. If you can't master just sitting here now, this is a strong statement I just heard, you have no business to call yourself a meditator. If you can't just sit and be present with your client, present with a human being, present with your lover. Like, we'll talk about Tantra. We're going to do it like this, but I'm staying clothed. We talk about Tantra, and I'm here alone, so I'm not going to demonstrate anything. But what I will say is you can sit with your partner right here doing this stuff. That's amazing. But so it's actually kind of better when you're alone, to be honest. The energy that gets cultivated inside without the distractions of someone else is actually better. So there's no sacrifice or loss if you're doing this by yourself. I could definitely be with other women right now. It's not an issue. So lovely one kind of send me text. I'm telling you, like, I'm choosing to be alone. It's a choice, and I feel better than if I invited this woman who wants to come to my house. Like, I'm telling you, like, it's not because I can't have that. It's because inside is actually better. And I'm enjoying taking this time during COVID quarantine to do that, just plunge into monk level mystical ecstasy. It's better than a partner, but if you do this with a partner, you'll be pleased. Okay, let's be sure we covered everything. Then we're gonna just sit for, you don't need silence anyway, right? For me to just sit doing nothing. So you're better off hearing what I have to say, but I want to spend some time going into it and talking about every little inner detail. I'll make sure I got all the outer details first. I know you might have questions. Feel free to email me if you've got my email. I'm going to stop looking at exact precision here. So don't worry about it. Just be comfortable. Eyes are open. If you were to bow, you don't have to. You're not bowing to me again. Nobody's saying you must bow. There's a Zen story. He says the master's bowing to all the statues in the monastery. And the hippie comes in and says, look at you, master. You think you're so free? I could spit on these statues. I'm so free. He said, very well, you spit. I'll bow. So in Zen style bowing, the elbows aren't down mindlessly. So they're up. This is called Gasho in Zen practice. In yoga, you'll hear this called, they'll sometimes say this is namaste, but that's not the right word. This is pranam. Pranam is to bow, or Gasho. But in Gasho, it's a bit more mindful. Arms are so again, Zen is much more mindful of the body posture. So Gasho, the elbows are up. It's more powerful. You know, this is like prayerful. This is powerful. So again, can be more feminine, masculine. There's a bit more masculine, but you can go feminine here, whatever. So And look at the shape of everything. Look at where this fits in the grids. It's awe-inspiring just to see this, and my hands right around a heart chakra. My thumbs are literally touching Ren 17. It's precision. And that's a yang energetic. And then just letting go, the same suit. That's a yin, devotional energetic. So Gasho. If I'm not a smiling Buddha, then something's probably wrong too. So I'd encourage you when you sit down, like I'm serious about practice, but also like you can smile into your practice. If you see a statue of Buddha and he's not smiling, something's wrong with the statue or with that Buddha, right? So there's joy inside of somebody who's fully open. So I'd encourage you to you practice that. But what we're doing right now is the sacredness of the space. This isn't my formal meditation spot, but it is now, right? So I'm just here. Of course, the tendency you want to close the eyes to feel the inner bliss, but again, with kind of Zen or descending meditation 1 practice with your eyes open, at least in the morning and just for this week. Eventually, we'll talk about closed eyes, blissing out kind of meditation. All right, but again, there's a balance here, and you need to have a balance, or All right. Tip of the tongue, roof of the mouth. I bow, honoring the sacredness of the space, and I immediately engage my practice. My first habit, my first instinct is inhale, 1. I don't say inhale in my mind, I'm just saying that for you, but what happened just now is 1, 2, relax the shoulders, 3, 4, relax the shoulders, lift the spine, 5, mindful of the fingers, 6, 7, relaxing the arms. So let's stop for a moment. While I'm just breathing and counting, I've actually practiced Shikantaza as the predominant part of my practice. Again, Shikantaza is just sitting. It's just sitting. So while I'm breathing and counting, I'm actually just working to just sit. So all these little things that I'm saying about like relax hands, relax shoulders, that's what's happening internally. I'm just practicing sitting. It's like, again, I could just show you, but what's going on inside? Breathing and counting. Again, I'm not really caught in my mind, but if I get in my mind and come back to the breathing and counting, just being right here now, wander, come back, wander past, come back, wander future, come back. Breathing here and now, just breathing here and now. Yet with Anahat, and Zen practice does this, and yoga, but I don't think it's as clear in yoga practice about this stuff. Most yogis don't, I think, grasp some of this. It's there, but they just don't go that far. In Zen, it's there kind of right from the beginning. Jiriki, concentrated power, cultivating all the energy here. And I'm only moving my body for demonstration purposes, kind of necessary. So as I inhale, I pull the energy below here. As I exhale, I cultivate it there. Inhale, exhale. Stop with my hand. Inhale, exhale. And I just became acutely aware that I'm sitting. And am I sitting aligned? In Zen, they say, when walking, just walk. When sitting, just sit. Above all, don't wobble. So when you walk Zen, you're walking. We're walking well. Cutting vegetables, mindfulness, right? You're cutting vegetables well. Making love, you're there with your partner well. Like everything, my guru in India, he would say, I eat good, I sleep good. In his lovely, fun Indian accent. I sleep good, I eat good. Guruji sleeps good. Guruji eats good. And then they said, somebody in India, I heard he's called the happy guru. And I'm like, yeah, they call him the happy guru. It's like, I'm not a happy guru. Most gurus aren't happy. You see them, they look so miserable. A yogi, a guru, a monk, a mystic should be happy. Duh. So my teacher in India was the happy guru. He was so joyful. And then, a lot of Zen influence. So Zen is more, but never lacking the joy and compassion. You just can't see it. that breath was gathering the energy and pulling it down there, because I saw, like, with the joy, I was like, ah, and then I was like, oh, that's a bit expanded. Then I contracted it back to here. This is pranayama. This is controlling the energy. Not all the funny breathing stuff, that's external. What I'm doing when I said just took a breath is I controlled the energy back below my navel. The immediate internal response in that breath was 1, 2. Now, what am I going to make for dinner? Boy, am I hungry. Man, I'm really thirsty. This class is going on a long time. No, just 1, 2. If I go back up into that craziness, like I said, if you practice this, you'll drop out of your conscious mind. My conscious mind is certainly aware of hunger, thirst, long class. But then, relax and breathe. So let's just do it a little bit. I'll count each breath and give you a sense of exactly what's happening inside. Excuse me, when your mind is not wandering. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then immediately 1, 2, I'm going to comment. I think you get the idea of how to do it. When you can't do it, just come back to practice doing it. I never count out loud to teach a class like that with such precision, so I never have to really think about it as it's the number right at the end of the breath, but I'm inhaling, and at the end of the inhale, 1. Exhale all the way, 2. And I noticed that was just 1 round, right? If I did it for a few more rounds, because I'm teaching and doing, eventually I would have gotten the count to be very precise. Inhale, 1. Exhale fully, 2. And the pace would become very rhythmic and even, and it would kind of slow, but it doesn't have to stop at all, like I talked about earlier. It's like more advanced than we're talking about here. Just breathe. Again, 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. The slight hesitation there is I noticed, like, tip of the tongue, roof of the mouth was an internal mechanism. This idea of all this becomes a habit. But then I was like, oh, but I have to say 5. So even though you might not be, whoa, like every breath was perfect and every number was right with it, that's what's happening. It's an exercise. It's not like every time you do a bench press or whatever, that your elbow is right in the right spot every time. But always working to keep things in proper alignment. So as I'm breathing and counting, I notice the impulse at the tip of the tongue, roof of the mouth. Are the fingers touching? Am I just breathing and counting? Am I looking around the room? No, stop that. If you're looking around, you're thinking. Stop looking. Engage your practice. That's why I say engage your practice. And mind your own practice. Doesn't matter what anybody else does. You just engage. If you're sitting in a group and the guy next to you is doing a rosary, that person is, whatever. They might be distracting. Don't try to correct them or anything. You just mind your own practice. If you just do this, it'll show you everything about you that you don't like, because you're forcing yourself to sit there with you. No TV, no radio. No music during this, please, just for this week. No devotional music, no spiritual music, just quiet room. Sit. Realize how much you hate yourself. You can't just sit and do nothing and not see your stuff. And that's what we'll get into next time we meet. Clearing the blocks in your heart, because we'll take the energy from here and we'll start pulling it up through the whole system. But until you cultivate that chi, you won't know what it means to move it through the system, and you will not feel all the glory of what it is, because most people don't even know it's in them. So you find your chi, you cultivate your chi, and that's why this takes years, right? To open every chakra, open all these meridians, and then fruition is, well, whatever. I've tried to show you as much as possible. I'm going to shift back to the desk. I see something long in the chat pod. Let me open it to Q&A right now. We're going to take as long as we need to, so just log off anytime you want to. Let me just say before I get up, I think I said everything I need to. The main thing to practice with me still guiding you, find that meditation, Anahat meditation, number 1, it's right now called Disc 3 meditation. Play that every morning for 5 minutes, every evening, or it's 10 minutes long. Sit with it for 10 minutes morning, 10 minutes evening. Do your best to sit this way, eyes open, and practice that morning and evening. You'll see it's limited, but it's powerful. All right, this foot is asleep a little. All right, let's try to do this where I'm not in front of the camera too much. All right, I guess I'll need to put the suit jacket on. All right, let's see if this camera will adjust. I'm waiting for the camera to adjust. Let's stop and start it again, 1 sec. Okay, great. Okay, hello everybody. So I've been seeing a lot of clients online lately, and I'm doing Zoom in their house, because we have this whole COVID, let me adjust the microphone, this whole COVID-19 thing. So I'm doing sessions in my clients' bedrooms and in their living rooms and, their home offices. And so we're getting to all know each other in ways we haven't. So honestly, you're getting to know me better than ever when I'm not even in the same room. So maybe this isn't all that bad. Okay, someone said earlier, this might be off topic. Ask questions if you got them, or comments for sure. I'm going to take as long as you guys want to tonight. Half the group is gone already, but half of you are still here. All right, here we go. Agree. I don't know when this was. I feel safer in my practice knowing that all those experiences have scientific basis and represent completed puzzle and not just scattered pieces. Thank you, Matthew, for combining your precise knowledge of theory and sharing personal experience. I will buy the books tomorrow. Whatever you are recommending, your knowledge of the subject is just amazing. Thank you. Next, in quotes, said, realize how much you hate yourself. I knew that was going to be a kicker. I was going to hold back that thought, but that's what was there. Haha, she said. I get super agitated and almost angry when I meditate. Thoughts? Stick around for next week's class. The week will be hard. You're going to sit with your stuff. Sorry, your insides might not be what I'm showing you my insides are, but that's why we do this stuff. And that's why the great teachers, I believe, are honest and open and real, because if not, you wouldn't know what's inside of you, right? Because I have to share what's inside of me. You do too, right? So anyway, if inside of you is a lot of pain, underneath all that anger is a lot of fear, underneath all the fear is a lot of hurt, there's tons of guilt mixed in with that, which means tons of unforgiveness. So next week when we do opening the heart work, I'll teach you what to do. But for now, don't suppress your emotions anymore. When you suppress emotion, you are completely blocking your system. You cannot feel this stuff. When you suppress once, and you are putting valves in your system. Most people are much more blocked than they think. And that causes health problems. So stop suppressing. We'll cover this all next week. Number 2, don't express your stuff. You're angry, sit on the cushion. You'll get hot inside. Your face gets red and the steam comes out of your ears. Just don't move. The Shakti is burning away your blockages. Not everybody knows these secrets. If you just sit in meditation and when you're angry, and don't suppress and don't act out and don't do anything, just sit and breathe. Relax and breathe. If you tense your body, you block the flow of the energy. Sit, relax, and breathe. Eventually, your blocks will burn away. Excuse me, I knew a lot of this stuff before I became a hypnotherapist. When I found hypnotherapy, I'm like, oh, that clears blockages. I can clear blockages for people the way I do in meditation, but I can do it faster with hypnotherapy. So if you have big blocks, honestly, go get some. Now, anybody could be seeing this video, so I'm going to qualify what I'm going to say. Find a graduate of our school. There's a lot of poorly trained hypnotherapists out there who don't even come close to knowing all this stuff. So find somebody who graduated the Institute of Interpersonal Hypnotherapy. That's instituteofhypnotherapy.com. Our graduates have a lot of this training about how to clear those blocks. So you consider meditation. It'll take you about 10 years to clear the average person's blocks. You add hypnotherapy sessions to the mix, you'll clear those blocks, probably, depending on who you are, within a year or two with, very active meditation. I'm just giving you random, but numbers from, many years of experience. So hypnotherapy helps to clear the blocks that you're going to find in there for sure. We have other techniques I'll mention next week. One other thought for you in that, I think that's good for now. Just, it's only a week, not a whole month. So just sit with your stuff for a week, be with what's in there, and I'll talk to you all about how those blockages clear using meditation. I have a torn meniscus in my right knee, and it is swollen, and it's difficult to keep my knee bent or put any pressure on it. Can I keep my right leg straight or sit in a chair? Well, there is, I can show you now. You can Google it. There's a pose called the Kuan Yin pose. What is she? The goddess, one of the goddesses of compassion, or technically, even though she's very feminine, is Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva. But anyway, Kuan Yin, the Kuan Yin pose has one knee up and one, like your right knee could be up and your left leg could be bent. It's a very feminine pose. You can maintain it for long periods of time, but you can probably do it for 10 minutes. So you could try Kuan Yin pose. I personally don't like it to meditate. Or I would just do the straight back chair. If I were you, I would just do the straight back chair. Sitting in that Kuan Yin pose does not really give you the chance to do what we're doing on a hot system, because you're just going to be too aware of that leg being up. I would sit so you can forget about your legs. I would sit in a chair. So good question. I'm happy to answer that. And then it's been a little difficult for me to think about holding the energy in the heart when I'm exhaling. Thank you. That's a good question. When we inhale, it gathers like a ball of light. So visualize it. And gather the ball of light below the navel, smaller than the circle from navel to tailbone. It's the size of your hara. It's bigger than a tennis ball. It's about a grapefruit. Ball of energy about that big. As you exhale, brighten it until there's this powerful ball of energy. Does that help? If you're still here, who asked? Yeah. All right, this is the last question, so I can see if you say yes. Awesome. All right, that was plenty long enough, right? I'm gonna get my voice the rest. I actually honestly canceled 2 clients last week so I could have enough voice to talk to you guys. So we're doing everything we can to get these teachings out there. Thank you for sticking with me to the end. If you came back to watch this recording, thank you as well. It's very vulnerable and open to teach this way. I love it. I'm fully open to your feedback and your questions. I gave my email out before we started. You could always call our school if you're, well, I shouldn't say that. Don't call our school if you really need my email. But if you're dying, then call 911. So anyway, I'm here for anybody who finds me, but I can't give my email publicly. So anybody who's going through this first round, really, if you have questions, just email me and I'll respond very quick. All right, thank you guys. I love you all. I'm honored to have taken you through this tonight. For those of you on the East Coast, go get some rest. And I will see you every Sunday at 7. You don't have to ask. I'll tell you if we're not going to be here. I'll email this whole group. But no emails from me unless we have to cancel. If not, or postpone. So if not, I'll just be here. And every Sunday, we'll keep going through. So that was lesson 1, descending on a hot meditation. Future lessons should really be shorter. Good night, everyone.